Initiating sound check. Preparing and initiating pan test. Pan test left. Pan test right. Left. Right. Pan test complete. Sound check now complete. All systems are ready.
I gotta close the window before I record, cause New York don't know how to be quiet.
What up, my fellow Knicks fans? This is your guy Marcellus Ease, and don't panic quite yet. Now we're gonna get into a nice little mixed bag with various topics because there's a lot to discuss with what's going on with this squad. But first off, round of applause for yourselves. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of hate when the Knicks are being successful, and we've seen it play out no further than after the Cup championship. Just a lot of trolling on whether the Knicks are gonna hang up the banner or not, as if we're the first team to win the Cup. But the haters are gonna love to spend their energy on something that they low-key love. The NBA has always had a different glow to it when the Knicks are out there shining. And once again, it's a long season. It's gonna be ups and downs, and that's where I'm gonna start off right here because this is a very interesting media landscape that the NBA is in. You can hear directly from the players, as Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson do make their round of appearances in their own podcast, and they address the elephant in the room in regards to the team's effort since the Cup games. I gotta say, when you look at the last few Cup winners, the Lakers, the Bucks, they all had similar experiences due to the NBA scheduling. But going back to the team, it looks like a lot of the struggles the Knicks had early on are slowly creeping back in. The energy levels remaining consistent on the defensive end, and also the point of attack defense is real bad. Guys are bringing up the ball real comfortable and getting into their spots or just getting into their actions a little bit too easy. But you guys check out what the fellas had to say, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Elephant in the room.
You guys have lost 4 straight.
According to Josh, I guess we over here lost 4 straight, according to Josh.
What can one say?
Yeah, just keep it a buck, we asked. No, I'm gonna keep it real. We look god awful. We look god awful. And how do I say this? The worst part about it, it's all correctable stuff. It's not like we're not bad. It's just all correctable stuff. And I think that's what makes it most frustrating is like we have the ability to correct it. It should have been corrected a long time ago, but here we are on a 4-game losing streak. And I said this before we started, I feel like we always do a podcast on some type of losing streak.
Facts. This exact scenario played out last time. And when it comes to the energy levels on the defensive end, that inconsistency is even affecting the offense. Guys are not getting out in transition, and it results after a while, Jalen Brunson just kind of being on ball, and it looks like we're right back into the Tom Thibodeau offense.
I know that we're a lot better than what we've been showing, and we've shown that already this year. And I think the best part about it is that we started the season, I won't say the best part, but we started the season not as great as we could have, and we found a way to kind of use that to push us through November and December and then win a cup. And then we're kind of back at that point we were in the beginning of the season. So this is going to give us the opportunity to respond and get better, or we're going to look like the shit show that we look like right now.
When you say it's all correctable stuff, I'm curious, one, what would you boil it down to? And then if you have a different perspective now, actually being able to watch it as, you know, as anyone else does.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, what would you boil it down to?
Obviously, our communication on both sides of the ball, one, physicality on both sides of the ball.
That physicality is going to have to be there because we're way too small, and that's one of the powers of OKC because they have a very similar build to the Knicks, except their players are willing to get down and physical. The Knicks are small, and they don't even have necessarily the same speed, but you add on top of that the physicality just not even being there, like damn. And shout out to the fellas right here keeping it honest because as you can see, Podcast P is no more ever since Philly kind of fell off the map as far as being contenders.
I think it's more mental than anything. Like we have the pieces, and we've shown that we can be physical on both sides of the ball this season. Like it's not like we're brand new. Like we've adjusted. We've gotten better earlier in the season. We're obviously taking steps back, but we have the ability to do great things as a team, and I think we've shown that so far. It's just a rough patch, and we're at that point. We're like the dog days of the NBA season.
You mean the dog days of winning the NBA Cup? That's something that Adam Silver is really going to have to touch on, because once again, the Milwaukee Bucks as well as the LA Lakers did struggle after winning the Cup in previous years. The dog days of the NBA really starts 2 weeks right before the All-Star break. Who knows, maybe that extra travel week in Vegas kind of threw things off. That's possibly why Adam Silver is reconsidering having those Cup games in Vegas.
Like before All-Star break. And so, yeah, it's not fun. It's something you don't want to go through as a team. You don't want to be in this position, but we got to call our way out of it somehow. You can't just sulk and be feeling sorry for ourselves. Like, that's just going to make us worse. So
January is always it's the hardest, toughest month of the NBA season in terms of, you're already, 2.5 months in. Like, you're game 35, 36, whatever we're at now. Body's a little bit tired. All-Star break is, 4 weeks away or whatever it is. Yeah. So it's like you're trying to get to it, trying to get there, obviously. But it's the stress, the grind. This is the worst part of the season. These, like JB said, these are the dog days of the season. And it's not just, you see it with everybody. OKC started the year, people were like, oh, they could potentially beat Golden State's record, and I think they're like 6-5 in their last 11 games.
So are the Wizards.
So are the Wizards. So it's like, there's going to be highs and lows. Obviously, you never want that. You always want there to be highs throughout the season and continue to build, but it's not reality. The reality is going to be highs and lows of an 82-game season. And it's about how you respond to that adversity. And I think that's just the biggest thing. So you don't get too high, you don't get too frustrated. During losses, obviously you want to make sure you correct things, but you don't want that frustration and mentality to linger for an extended period of time. So
you definitely don't, but the Knicks are also going to need Karl Anthony Towns to sometimes step up and carry the teams in certain games. It's not just Jalen Brunson that should be out there doing so. At some point during the season, we're going to have to see some sort of elevation from Karl Anthony Towns. He doesn't necessarily have to average a bunch of points, but if his assists goes up and also him getting to the free throw line a lot more often, this could completely add a different layer to this team.
But JB said they're all correctable things. We have to bring more energy and more physicality, especially on the defensive end. That's something that, we have to do. He gets harassed, every game, 94 feet. And I don't think, here or there, we've done that, to opponents,
Mike Brown actually tried that in a few games against the Charlotte Hornets. He had Deuce McBride pressure LaMelo Ball in the backcourt just to get a feel and to see if this defense could actually react and recover properly. But if teams are going to pressure Jalen Brunson like that, that's where Karl Anthony Towns should make them pay in the paint. Him shooting 10 to 11 free throws a game could completely change the dynamics and just add another layer to this Knicks team.
Every couple games, or we might be down 15, we need to bring energy, we pick up full court. So you see, teams are doing this throughout the whole game to throw us off. And at times it works. So it's like, we got to make sure we make these guys also uncomfortable. So I think that's just the biggest thing. But
I think our sense of urgency has to pick up. Mm-hmm. You can't just wait until we give up 35 points in the first quarter or we're down 10 going into the fourth. We just need to snap out of runs faster. They go on a run. All right, we need to we need to go on a run quick to bring it back. We can't let it linger to like 15, 17, and then have to play catch up. It's a hard way to live.
It's a hard way to live, and the Knicks don't necessarily have the defense at times. I mean, just this season alone, the way teams are getting off these threes, teams that don't even shoot threes like that. The Mavericks, when we played them in Dallas, they're one of the worst three-point shooting teams, and they went off. Same thing for the San Antonio Spurs, Champagnie. It's just too many coincidences of teams who normally don't shoot good from three-point range. They're just having a field day going against the Knicks.
It could create great wins like we did on Christmas Day, but like we don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, we want to obviously have a lead, we want to play well with a lead, or at least have the game close, because we know that we're a good team when it comes down to crunch time. And so,
and I think to his point, what he talked about earlier, you know, this is kind of like feels a little bit at the beginning of the season. I feel like beginning of the season, obviously new system, new coaching staff, a couple of new guys, but times where there were runs, times where there were some of those adverse situations, we didn't handle it well, and you know those runs built, and we lost a game. And I can't recall which game it was, but you know after a couple of those games, when teams made runs and we had adverse situations, we flipped the switch and we corrected it, and we got hot, and we started winning games and putting games together.
Hey, shout out to some of the guys coming off the bench, Tyler Kolek, Jordan Clarkson, and also Mitchell Robinson, causing havoc in that paint. Just getting all these offensive rebounds, and it's generating open looks from three.
And then, like you said, like now it kind of feels like we're at the beginning, back to the beginning of the season, where it's, okay, teams are going to run. We have to figure out how to do this again. We got to figure out what plays we should run, and how to get guys in these situations. So it's just the season is a constant, blanking on the word, carousel of, making adjustments, trying to figure out what's going on. You have guys in and out the lineup.
You're never an established team.
Yeah.
It never is like, this is our team, this is how we're going to play. There's always going to be adjustments in game. There might be adjustments throughout a stretch of games, like when someone's hurt or you're not playing as well as a team, how are you going to adjust to get back on track? Like there's never like, this is our team, we're a finished product at game 35, and we're going to be like this until game 82,
Facts. Matter of fact, right now, this is actually a good time period for the Knicks, because we are seeing a lot of different lineups because of injuries or just guys being out. I believe Deuce McBride and in two different parts of the season had to be out due to injury, and we've seen guys like Tyler Kolek, Jordan Clarkson step up. We're getting different lineups. We're even seeing Big Mo enter the starting lineup. He had a game where he was going off from three, so he's able to come up. Also, Tyler Kolek got more opportunity. Even Kevin McCullough Jr. got some opportunity coming off the bench. So Mike Brown is giving teams a lot of different looks. We're sometimes seeing the lineup with two bigs, with Mitch and Cat, even though that really hasn't worked out this season. But Mike Brown has pivoted. Sometimes he goes with Mitch in the middle. You got that Mikal Bridges, that Deuce McBride lineup with Jordan Clarkson and also Brunson. And he's also testing things out. Sometimes you see a Jalen Brunson, Tyler Kolek lineup. And it's giving us a nice preview of different guys, of how they can affect different playoff series going down the line. Maybe one guy might be completely ineffective in one series, but then he can come up on another. These dynamics right here is something that we never really got to see last season, with Tom Thibodeau just playing his starters heavy minutes. We as Knicks fans are slowly watching the same scenario that played out when Isaiah Hartenstein had his come up after the Julius Randle injury. Just all those consistent minutes from night to night, we started to see him have more chemistry with Jalen Brunson, and he was able to evolve to be a completely different player. And it all came together in the NBA Finals when he played for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that type of come up is what we're looking for right now as we're kind of going through these dog days.
and we're going to be like this until game 82, until playoffs.
If you are,
then
it ain't going to go well.
Yeah, it's a constant roller coaster of obviously emotion, of playing well, not playing as well as you could be, or maybe even playing bad, like how we are right now. Like, there's always gonna be a constant roller coaster, and how do you respond to it quick enough? Are we gonna let this linger on, or are we gonna respond now and then kind of use this as like a jump pad to like spring forward. Damn, that was a good one. Jump pad to spring forward. Damn. But yeah, it sucks. Like, it is what it is. People are gonna say like, oh, we're frauds. Yeah, we look like it right now. But how are we gonna respond?
For you, Josh, obviously you are who you are as a player. You're gonna bring your, the effort and the energy. But is there anything that you'd say is maybe unique about this stretch of games where you sort of watching as a spectator, you're like, okay, this is top priority for me when I get back in terms of things that you want to bring or areas that you want to help out?
For me, it's just making sure we have that energy and physicality from the beginning of the game. And obviously on some of the, they went on a 3-game road trip, and then I had the road trip or the road game yesterday. When you're watching it, obviously you get to see that, but you also hear the announcers and hear some of the stats and hear some of the stuff. And I think they said we're like, it was 20 games or roughly, it's either 20 or a couple more than that, games where we're trailing after the first quarter. And I think it was one, conversely, because you hear those bad things. Conversely, we were 19-0, with a lead in the fourth quarter until the San Antonio game. But so you hear that and you're like, okay, more than 60% of our games, 65% of our games, we're not starting the game off right. Whether that's the starters, whether that's the guys coming in right off the bench, to start the quarter. So for me, it's like, okay, I got to make sure no matter what I'm doing, I got to make sure I bring the physicality, the toughness, to start the game and have that, be a contagious thing. And if guys aren't doing that, hold them accountable. So for me, it's obviously I don't like missing games, but it's also good to be able to kind of see it removed, because you're like, okay, this is where I need to, when I come back, this is what I have to try to do to make a positive impact. So it's frustrating. For me, I'm looking at it both ways, because I want to play, but then I'm also looking at it like, down the stretch, this could be, beneficial to them, not, I don't want to say not playing all these games, but, the end of last year, I felt like I didn't have it. And that was just more me personally. So now it's like, okay, I don't want to say I have a break, but, I'm not having these games in. So now down the line, I have more to tap into. Yeah, we'll see. But hey, it's highs and lows. It's an 82-game season. You go on a 10-game win streak right now. No one's going to remember the 4-game losing streak. And then you go on a 3-game losing streak after that. No one remembers the 10-game winning streak. So it's all about just getting better and learning, from the highs and lows. So it's not the end of the world.
And at some point, it's going to get very interesting when we get closer to the playoffs, how Mike Brown is going to cut that rotation down. These dog days that the Knicks are going through right now is the exact moment that guys can actually earn a spot within those tight rotations going into the playoffs from series to series. This is where they're going to make a name for themselves for that category. But it is what it is. These are good problems to have right now at this moment. The injuries of Josh Hart and Landry Shamet has allowed Mike Brown to get more of a feel of what other guys can do. And this is one of the reasons why I doubt the Knicks will really be making any kind of moves during the trade deadline unless they're trying to actually bulk up and get another guy in place of Yabusele. So Carmelo Anthony and Shaquille O'Neal had a very interesting sit down where they spoke on a bevy of topics, but it's very interesting to see the generational differences between these two players where they're really only 10 years apart. And within that time span, the NBA as well as the players were going through a transition in which the hierarchy was changing from the head coaches having all the power, sort of in a top-down military kind of format like the San Antonio Spurs, to eventually the star players having more power than the head coaches. And as we see it play out today, coaches speak to the players sort of like a peer that's working together. The reason why I'm stating this is because it shows you how their careers eventually played out. Shaquille O'Neal came into the NBA where the hierarchy, even from high school to college, was still the coach, almost in a role of a sergeant. And Carmelo Anthony came into the league at a time where AAU was beginning to become the mass circuit that it is now. Also, the change in the 24/7 news cycle, where that allowed guys like LeBron James to get so much hype generated while still in high school. And with the success of Michael Jordan, by the time Melo got into the league, we've seen players that have very powerful brands like the success of Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, etc. And that cultural cachet came with a lot of power, and guys were very brand conscious of it. So before we hear from these two players, let's add a nice little backdrop right here as Shaquille O'Neal explains how when he first showed up into the NBA, he did not even have the consciousness to understand that he could leverage his star power to get what he wants. That's how top down the overall sports circuit was, from amateur all the way to pro, during Shaquille O'Neal's come up. Listen to him right here as he explains the exact moment his teammate nudged his shoulder and told him to flex his power. Just peep how shocked he was when he found out it actually worked.
Arrogant, but professional arrogance.
It's important.
Because growing up, I never talked back to my father, high school coach, or college coach. You got a pad? I gotta tell you the story. Hand me that. So, you know, I'm nice and respectable. I'm trying to do things the right way. But D Scott in my ear, man, it's your team, man. You gotta take over.
Who said that?
D Scott. D Scott's like, hey, man, it's your team. Forget all that. It's your team. So I'm like, nah. So one day, Jerry Reynolds, Iceman, in the shoot around, we playing against Dale Ellis. And Matty Gukas was like, hey, man, they gonna run these plays for Dale Ellis. You gotta go over the screen. So the first 3 plays, Jerry go under the screen. Dale, boom, 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 boom. So we call a timeout. And Matty was like, God damn it, Jerry, didn't I tell you to go under? So this is the first time I seen a player talk back. I never seen that before. It's the first time I seen a player talk back. Jerry Reynolds go, fuck that shit, call some plays for me too. And I'm like, yeah. And then Matty did it. And then D was like, see, that's how you gotta be.
Told you.
That's when I kind of started. Yeah, I kind of started asserting myself. So my first power move is.
That exact green light is something that star players already have built in before entering the NBA, especially guys like Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James. So once again, we're seeing the fundamental differences between Shaq and Melo as they entered the NBA. Just peep the mindset before we hear this sit down.
My first power move is after we lose, I'm in LA, same day. We lose on a Sunday, I'm in LA. So I'm shooting a movie, Blue Chips, and I say, hey, you gotta make me a court so I can work out. This skinny kid, this motherfucker diming me up like magic. I don't know who he is, because you know me, I don't be paying attention to young cat. So I'm thinking he an actor. So finally I said, yo man, who's this? They said, yo man, that's Penny Hardaway. I said, he an actor? He said, no, they think he gonna be number 2, number 3 pick. I'm like, damn, so I got this in my head. So my first major move was when I found out we got the ball, hey man, y'all don't get this Penny dude, I'm gonna be looking to do something else. Just to try it. First time I was ever arrogant, first time I ever talked back. So now we shoot the movie whenever. So the draft comes, they draft C-Web. Now I'm pissed. I'm tearing my house up, breaking mirrors, breaking trophies, and then they do it. They do the switch. I'm like, man, D Scott was right. It works. So the second big move, hey man, give me Horace.
Horace Grant.
I don't know if we can afford Horace. You don't get Horace, I'm gonna be looking to do something else after my deal out. So now I'm learning how to maneuver, because they saying it's your team. So we all know if it's my team and it don't go right, I'm getting the blame.
Yep.
So if I'm gonna get all the blame, I'm gonna make sure I'm totally in control.
So now we're going to hear from Carmelo Anthony and Shaquille O'Neal as they did a sit down and reflected on their careers and a lot of their trials and tribulations, especially Carmelo Anthony dealing with Phil Jackson, as he does represent one of these coaches that come from the old hierarchy of basketball, period, whether it be college, amateur, high school, or even the NBA. And figureheads like that are not accustomed to star players dictating everything. Coach Larry Brown is another example. George Karl, another coach that kind of had a tiff with Melo. That's why the era of those guys sort of ended in the mid-2010s, because just the player empowerment, the player movement was just too much for a lot of these guys to deal with. And a lot of their old tactics of just trying to motivate players no longer worked with the new generation. And Melo really was kind of ahead of his time because the way the players kind of interact and their expectations of their kind of peer-to-peer relationship with their head coaches was exactly what Melo was looking for in his time during the NBA. But you guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
The game has evolved, right? Because the game is evolving, but it's evolving so much that it's going away from certain aspects of the game, right? That's why I said the basics of the game, the foundation of the game is still the same. You still have to be able to score on the block if you get the ball. You still have to be able to play at the elbow. You still have to be able to shoot a three. These are all the basics of the game. They taken away two of those basics of the game, the block and the mid-range. They taken away that because it's space, it's pace, it's how fast you can play, it's how high you can jump, how many points you can score. So because of that, you take away from the actual true essence of the game of basketball. So that's why it's hard for me to say somebody plays or have similarities because they don't operate the same way. I can't see nobody in the triangle offense today. Like,
not at all.
You know, and so and this is something that
Shit, Melo, we couldn't even see no one in the triangle offense back when Phil Jackson had first arrived in New York. I don't want to say it was outdated, but Phil Jackson at the time, he had to utilize the kind of style of players that the last few NBA drafts had produced. And coming up with a different variation of that triangle offense is what was needed. A perfect example of it is the Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr took some principles of the triangle offense, but he's tailored a system around Stephen Curry and the more modern, versatile players like Draymond Green and Klay Thompson.
to always have a problem with, because I know I study the triangle so much. And it's like, I know you gotta have a team to run a triangle. You gotta have a post man. You gotta have a guard. I know all the, and the intricate parts of it.
Is it really as brilliant as people say it is?
Brilliant. It's one of the most brilliant inventions.
Yeah. Because I hear the lore. I hear the lore.
Like,
yeah.
Thank you, Tex. Like,
Winner.
thank you, Tex, because that's one of the greatest, and he's one with it. I only had the opportunity to experience it, but from the far, I've experienced it. Being a student of the game, I had to learn, damn, what is this? Like, this is immaculate. Like, you can't stop this. But then once you get it, it's clockwork. So that's why I say, who can play in that? You don't see a lot of people who could play in that type of system.
And Melo's referring to around the time that he was playing, because at that very exact moment, even the media narrative was that the big man was a dying breed. Look what happened to Roy Hibbert. So Melo's saying that the triangle offense needs a traditional big man. What happens when that player, due to the play style of the league at the time, was just really creating havoc on the defensive end due to the floor being so spaced out and guys having to come out all the way out there in the perimeter to defend?
Go ahead, please.
But what made it more brilliant is especially when you got 2 or 3 guys that go outside the system.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about the triangle and everybody's scouting the triangle, they'll say, okay, he's going to do this, he's going to do that, he can do that. But then when you got a guy like me, like, for example, when the ball goes to the corner, I'm supposed to go out for the pick and roll. But I would say, no, I'm going to repost.
Yeah, that's a repost.
You know what I'm saying? It's a repost. I throw it out and I bunch it back 2 feet and then I go. So other guys like, Will Purdue, when they throw it out, the guy cuts out, and they go set the pick and roll for Mike. And then you guys got like Kobe and Mike at the top of the key saying move, and then you go to work. Yeah. So that's what really, really got us.
And Shaq right there, when he's saying that Michael Jordan told guys to move, he was able to take advantage of the illegal defense at the time. So sometimes great players in isolation, they were able to cook a lot different back then. Zone defense was illegal in the Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson days.
Do you feel like that style of play will ever make a comeback, so to say?
No, never.
It's too, for one, it's too tedious, right? You have to teach it. You have to teach every aspect of it. And then everybody has to be on one accord. And it's like you string everybody to move at the same time. One false move could be a turnover. One false move, you're out of position. The wrong space, you're out of. If you 1 foot over, you could be out of. Like, it's very precise like that. So I just don't see anybody willing to take that chance today and implement that system. You see it though, San Antonio, well, you used to see it with San Antonio, Golden State. They still have triangle principles with Golden State.
And now Melo's going to talk about his relationship with Phil Jackson. This is where everything I stated before kind of comes full circle. Phil comes from that era of basketball where the coach is a sergeant. So sometimes shit talking is part of the motivation. He did it to Michael Jordan, he did it to Kobe. But by the time he came into New York, it was a different NBA. The player empowerment movement was at its height. Stars like Carmelo Anthony looked at their coaches as well as even the team president as peers. And him, as well as the new generation of players, took that shit talking in front of the media not as motivation and interpreted it a lot different. Even though Phil Jackson was old and outdated, some of the things he was saying at Melo was an observation because Melo branded himself as a guy that wanted to compete for championships. And eventually down the line, some of those things did come back to haunt Melo, as even the Oklahoma City Thunder traded him away just to save money. And in the following season, he was cut by the Houston Rockets after only a 2-week appearance, and eventually the Blazers end up signing him to a non-guaranteed contract before giving him a guarantee in the second season. So when that whole Carmelo Anthony, Phil Jackson sort of media beef, both sides had valid points that the other could have really took into consideration.
When you have stories, then you have truth, you ain't in no rush to get to the truth. He had stories. I had the truth. I've never spoken on it. I've never said anything to nobody. I took the shots, whatever came with it.
I hated your coach.
Who? He
George
talking
Karl.
about Phil.
Oh, I'm talking about Coach Karl.
Oh, he talking about Phil.
Yeah.
And my thing about that, and this is why I say, let me close this.
Hold on, you and Phil had beef? I never knew that.
Phil got beef. I ain't got no beef.
Yeah. He's actually.
I like Phil. I hated Coach Karl.
Now notice right there, Shaq said, I liked Phil. That's because Shaq was used to his style of coaching. That's what he experienced not only in his come up, but in his first few years in the league. And also, Shaq grew up with a military father, so he was used to certain tactics when it came to motivation. Once again, we're about to see the fundamental differences between, I would say, two different generations, just 10 years apart from coming into the league.
Phil was different.
Well, I wanted to ask you philosophically how you feel about this, because as a fan, I would see what's happening with you guys. Then he would drop a book telling a story about you.
Let me get a difference. I would have a different perspective, right? If I was sitting in his seat, right? In the seat of Phil was my coach. He coached me, right? So if you want me to do something, you can coach me through it. You can bring it to my attention. You can break it down because you are coaching the game. So I respect you as the coach of the game. You the president of the team, talking about the team.
Right.
And if you talking about the team and the team is not good, then who does the bullets go to? The guy who wears a white hat on the team.
Right.
Because it's an easier scapegoat to point me out than it is to just say, and man up and say, you know what? My tenure here wasn't great at all. I had a up tenure. I should have came down there and coached. That was my only thing.
Now, Melo, that was never going to happen. I believe Phil Jackson understood the Knicks didn't necessarily have the amount of years to actually build up in kind of real equity with him being the team president. And also, the Phil Jackson hiring almost looked like a political move by James Dolan, because fans literally around that same time were standing around MSG protesting the team. Who knows? Maybe Phil never really wanted the job, and this was pretty much just a position where the team could overall save face. And there's plenty of stories out there of the non-seriousness Phil Jackson had when it came to being the team president. Just falling asleep, being too stuck on certain player archetypes, and just overlooking a lot of players in the draft. It was definitely a hiring mistake by James Dolan, and sometimes to find the right people to hire is a tough task. Look at Dolan now. He looks a lot comfortable because he has the right personnel running the team. He almost looks like a new man in a way. He's smiling a lot more, and it's not just because they're winning. It's almost in a way that he gave his keys to the Ferrari to a friend. He sleeps comfortable at night knowing that his friend is going to bring it back in one piece.
So to close I brought it back full circle. Like, look, I had 2 conversations with you ever in 5 years.
Once again, that right there shows you how lack of seriousness Phil Jackson had when he had that roll up in the MSG. My man Phil looked like he came inside the building more concerned about what was everyone gonna have for lunch. God damn, you talked to Melo 5 times in 6 years? What the hell? We had no chance to win anything.
Yeah, it's a very strange power dynamic. How did you navigate? It's weird. It's a very
weird.
strange thing to navigate. Yeah.
If you was my coach, if you came down, I think I said this back then. I said, listen, I would want nothing more than Phil Jackson to come out the front office. And he should coach this team. He should coach this team. You can't give Derek Fisher and throw him under the bus like that. You can't do that. And D. Fisher's my guy. Now he's my colleague, you know what I mean, right now. But you can't do that at that point in time.
And I didn't look at it from that perspective. Very interesting and great take. When I first met Phil, and he coached me, so I didn't think of it like you said. So that was a great point right there. Because of his resume, I just shut up.
Right there, you see the fundamental difference between the two? Shaq is used to that top-down order. Melo already knows his resume, but he's looking at him more of a peer. And today's generation of NBA players, they come into the league with that expectation. Just look at what JJ Redick is going through with the Lakers right now.
How crazy that is to be at an airport and be like, damn, I didn't know you felt that way about me.
My thing was, Carmelo knows the pressure of being great, but then people throw in your face you haven't won.
Yeah.
So out of all the superstars, I probably have the most sweeps out of all superstars. Right, I've been swept 5 times. So the pressure was adding up. So now when I said Phil's coming, I was like, I'm gonna just shut up and listen because what I'm doing and all these other guys ain't working. But from day one, I know he was a psychological guy because he used to do the same dumb my father made me do.
Once again, you see how Shaq makes that correlation to his military father and Phil Jackson? A lot of the coaches from Phil Jackson's era did the same things. The Greg Popovich archetypes, the Larry Brown, George Karl. Even Pat Riley down there in Miami used to play the same games. And nowadays, he's actually kind of wheeling things back a little bit due to the fact that he's starting to hit a wall with today's players. Understanding that style of motivation has to be dialed back.
So first time I get to his house, he opens the door. He said, hey, I need you to move that log to that island. And he shuts the door. And I'm looking, it's a big log on the thing, and the island's over there. He wanted me to jump in the cold water with his son and push the log to the thing. So I'm saying to myself, like, okay, my daddy used to do this. Hey, go outside and rake the leaves. And rake the neighbor's leaves, and rake the neighbor's leaves, and you got 2 hours to do it. I said, okay, so I did it. The water was cold, and I almost died when I jumped in that water. I had to take my clothes off. It was just my drawers and the tank top and freeze. But I did it, and then we came in and we had a talk. He said, okay, you passed the first test. And he told me straight up, he said, if you would have gave me about moving that log, I wouldn't have coached you.
Now, this is a beautiful point right here because imagine if it was Melo in 2015. Him going up there in Minnesota, I believe that's where Phil Jackson is at. He probably more than likely would not have done that. And Phil would have said, hell no, I'm not coaching this team. Matter of fact, it wouldn't shock me when Phil Jackson entered the MSG building, he did the same log experiment on Melo in different ways and experienced pushback. And that's when he realized he would never coach this team.
I'm hearing a lot of things about you and Kobe, but you the guy. I want to see how you are. See, he didn't know that I grew up in that type of background, so my relationship with Phil was different. But your other coach, Carl, I hated him.
Yeah, I shut that door a long time.
I didn't like
But can
Coach
you guys
Carl.
explain why though?
Okay, so my All-Star game, I'm coming up. They double, triple team me in All-Star game.
It was competitive back then.
No, man.
It was a different All-Star game back then.
You don't double team people in the All-Star
It's a
game.
different All-Star game.
Man, it's so fascinating what triggers you.
Bro,
It's so interesting. Like, it's a very interesting.
Get out my space.
Yeah.
No, because
So interesting.
during our regular season, we got to do our regular post and all that. All-Stars, like,
Yeah.
1 or 2 times, just let me in and out, to pull it.
Showtime.
Yeah, showtime. What to do it? And he double and triple team me. I got to pass the ball. I never did like him after that, and I didn't like how he treated you. I really didn't like that.
Okay, so then what's your story?
My story was
He's aired it out on the podcast.
Yeah, but in a nutshell, right? My story is a young black basketball player coming from a very specific place, coming from the hood, getting to a Denver Nuggets organization, having to wear the white hat, being thrown the keys and telling, hey, go win me a championship at 19, 20 years old.
Now notice right there, Melo said being thrown the keys. That's exactly what George Karl had an issue with. Him, Larry Brown, They hated the fact that organizations started tossing the keys at these young rookies coming in. That was a shift in the NBA. It wasn't like that before. I believe Kobe Bryant came into the league only 6 years before Melo, and he was purposely left on the bench. He had to earn that starting role, and that's just how the league was. Guys had to earn their starting role. So I'll shoot Melo some bail because George Karl was on the defense because of the whole Allen Iverson, Larry Brown situation. And Melo even spoke about the same thing playing out in the Olympic trials that he had with Larry Brown. He did not like a lot of his experiences with Allen Iverson in Philly, just him having the keys to the franchise, and he made an example of LeBron James, Amari Stoudemire, and Carmelo Anthony by basically suspending them for, I believe, a Team USA showcase in Jacksonville. But the league definitely was going through a shift, and a lot of head coaches were slowly being stripped away of their power, that sort of drill sergeant autonomy.
And so that was part of it. Then now you get an older coach who is very traditional, my way or the highway, cut from a different coaching cloth.
Hey, that right there, my way or the highway, is that drill sergeant autonomy right there. Coaches were being stripped of that very slowly ever since Allen Iverson came into the league, and it sort of jumped into a whole nother stratosphere by the time LeBron came into the NBA.
Right, from Dean Smith, North Carolina, like he come from basketball royalty. But then now that knowledge and your personality just does not match. And you don't know how to relate to that young 19, 20-year-old black kid.
That's that peer-to-peer relationship that we see today players have with coaches. In a way, unfortunate for Melo, I believe he was drafted too early. Had he been just 7 to 10 years younger, he would be a lot more comfortable in today's NBA landscape for the coach-player dynamic that he wanted.
In Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. Location matters for sure.
I hope that,
yeah.
in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Without airing them out.
So there you have it. 2 different players just 10 years apart, and it's a totally different interpretation of just the coach-player dynamic. And it even came down to the way each player interpreted the motivational approaches from their commander-in-chief. But hey, as the influx of money just keeps coming into the NBA and the bags are just getting larger and larger and larger, the hierarchy among stars and certain personnel in the franchises are always going to get blurred. So New York Knicks owner James Dolan had a nice sit down where he's looking like a brand new man. I guess that's what happens when you finally find the right people to hire and run these teams. But it was all smiles, and it's great to see him in good spirits. But he touched on a bevy of topics, ranging from the Tom Thibodeau firing to not hanging up the Emirates Cup banner, MSG Networks as the overall business of the league changes, and even the expectations this season that he has for this Knicks squad. But you guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
But in the process, you also made a decision, you and Leon Rose, to relieve Tom Thibodeau of his head coaching duties. And Mike comes in, has done a really nice job thus far. Can you walk us through what the thinking was at the time you made it? If it was just Leon coming to you saying, we need a change, if you guys collectively thought the team needed a different voice in the locker room, and what was the genesis of moving on from Tom?
Well, look, Leon and I talk about everything. Right, even not basketball stuff.
Got it.
So, the team is really built on the shoulders of Tom Thibodeau. Right, he built that core. Sure. Right, we went as far as we did last year, and so you really got to take your hat off to Tom.
And we definitely do, because Tom Thibodeau, make no mistake about it, last year going up against the Pacers, that was a real championship team. It didn't look like it on paper when it comes to the names, but just the way they were built, they really revealed who they were in the finals. A team that was well coached and had a bench that had 4 to 5 guys who were getting into these games and impacting it consistently throughout the playoffs. They had OKC on the ropes in game 4, and it looked like they were going to go up 3-1, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't quite close it out when OKC was cold from the field in that third quarter. The only difference between the Tom Thibodeau Knicks from last season and the Oklahoma City Thunder was the way that they responded in Game 2 after the Pacers stole Game 1. That Eastern Conference Finals, when we all look back at it, there was very little breathing room for the Knicks to make mistakes, period, in that series. I stated this before, but Jalen Brown had admitted that the Pacers were the toughest team the 2024 champions Boston Celtics faced in the playoffs. So Thibs does deserve his credit. Had the Knicks closed out Game 1 or had a better showing in Game 2, that series would have probably ended up going 7.
And the job that he did. But we did come to the conclusion that we had an idea of how we wanted to organize the team, and actually it goes for both teams, and that meant we needed to evolve, right? Actually, beyond the old traditional coaching,
right?
Formulas, etc. And we tried to work that with Tom. It really wasn't his thing.
And unfortunately, that not being Tom Thibodeau's thing came back to haunt him, because out of the final 4 teams that was left in the playoffs between the Knicks, Pacers, Thunder, Timberwolves, the Knicks were the only team that was not consistently using their bench. Their roster was a little bit too top heavy when it came to the minutes. And also, let me add on this when it comes to the bench scoring. For the Pacers, it was so consistent. Even in Game 5 with the Knicks winning, the Pacers bench was still able to drop 56 points. So regardless if the Knicks had closed out Game 1 or not, there was always going to be very little breathing room to make mistakes throughout that whole series.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. From that, do you mean like not using the bench that much, the style of play? What are you referencing there?
That's some of it, right? But it is much more about style of leadership, right? Collaboration versus sort of
lone wolf type of thing.
Yeah,
got it.
Thank you for giving me the word.
I got you.
That's better than the one I was thinking of. But because of the way, particularly basketball, but also hockey too, the way the sport's evolving, the how much more complicated it is. We're very, very big on development in both clubs. Because you can't. It's not like the old days, like the old Yankees, where you get Reggie Jackson and this guy that put together a team. It's almost impossible to do that in the NBA. You have to home grow, some of your talent, and that also builds up trade currency, etc. But it's a development thing.
Hey, right there, James Dolan is making reference to the new CBA, something I've expressed for a couple of seasons now. A couple of you fellas looked at me like I was bugged out. But within these new rules, the days of just buying out star players is over. Now, because teams don't want to hit that second apron and just deal with all those restrictive penalties to making your team better from year to year, they're going to have to land on a lot of gems, late first rounds all the way to the second and even undrafted. So in a way, the NBA today, no matter where you get drafted, your money-making potential is really unlimited. Fred VanVleet went undrafted. He signed over a $100 million contract. Look at Jalen Brunson right now with the Knicks. You could even look at Jimmy Butler. He signed multiple $100 million contracts. So the landscape today is definitely a lot different, and there's going to be a more focus on trying to avoid hitting that second apron. You could dip into it for 1 year, but you got to pivot away and flex out of it for maybe the second or third year. Look at the Boston Celtics with Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. They quickly had to dump guys off, even though they were considered a championship contending team, because they don't want to deal with the penalties. And with knowing that situation, eventually we're going to have to take a close look at Karl Anthony Towns and how that will affect the Knicks after next summer. This current version of the Knicks was never built to last long. They've already had a couple attempts at perhaps competing for a championship, and this season may be the last one with this current version of the Knicks.
But it's a development thing, and that's a team of people. There's literally 20 people, who are specifically, dedicated to developing the players, to getting their skill levels up, to getting the strategy on the court in, right?
So part of that's develop players that become trade pieces, develop players that obviously become valuable depth guys off your bench.
Right, and that's important for the development of a franchise.
AKA Mitchell Robinson. He's coming through clutch for us right now. Shout out to Money Mitch. He's one of the longest tenure Knicks I've seen in a while.
Right. And that really, look, Tom liked development, but he didn't really.
Well, he's the guy that, he likes playing the veterans. He likes playing the guys that, buy into his system.
Right.
And guys like that, and he has throughout his career have a shelf life, right? And he got to an Eastern Conference final. You guys collectively had to have felt that while the run was great, and he gets a lot of credit for being a part of the Knick turnaround, that you couldn't win a title with him. That had to be the thinking.
Not only that was the thinking, you could see the proof. The Knicks went up against a young Detroit Pistons team that really couldn't shoot, but yet they didn't have one game throughout that whole series where they actually pulled away. Matter of fact, our offense went through too many dry spells. In game 2 in the third quarter, we only had 18 points. In game 4 in the third quarter, we only had 14 points. In game 6, the closeout game, we only had 20 points and was low-key struggling the whole time. But the only reason the game remained close is that the Pistons couldn't make a three-point shot. OG, McHale, everybody was going under screens and just daring Cade to shoot. So the offense in that series left a lot to the imagination, going up against a young Pistons team like that. And finally, the dundada of it all was game 2 going up against the Pacers. The Knicks had to play with a certain sense of urgency on the offensive end, with them stealing game 1, and the offense overall was just pretty stagnant. So the proof was in the pudding throughout the playoffs.
I won't say you can't win a title with Tom Thibodeau. That I don't necessarily know that's true. It's just that if you want to build a long-term compete for the,
you needed a different guy.
You need somebody who's, much more of a collaborator than Tom was. But still, you really, Tom is still a great coach, right? He should coach again in the NBA. If I had a franchise that I was, just starting with, et cetera, he would be a gold mine to get.
That's facts. Everywhere Tom Thibodeau has gone, they kind of struggled afterwards. I believe the Knicks right now is one of the first teams where this really is not necessarily the case, because the team relatively is still at their peak. But when he left Chicago, that team instantly fell off, and the same thing in Minnesota. Shit, Minnesota missed the playoffs for the next 2 to 3 seasons.
He was like that for us when we first started and he first came in. Sure. He brought discipline, right? He brought strategy.
He was the right guy at the right time.
Right. He was right. He brought us all that way, but we really felt we needed to make a change to go the rest of the way.
Now, did you go to Tom and discuss these changes, or did you just and take his?
No, we decided to surprise him with.
No, well, I'm saying because you mentioned it wasn't.
Guess what?
I'm saying you mentioned it wasn't his thing. Was there discussions about possibly getting him to changes, and it felt like it wasn't going to happen, or did you just make the assumption Tom wasn't the kind of coach who could make the changes you were looking for?
We talked to Tom all the time.
Right.
Right. And look. So I don't want to get too deep into what the interaction, but I would say that whole last year we were talking to Tom about where we wanted to go, et cetera. And
he's a stubborn guy.
Yeah.
I said it.
He's
stubborn.
He'd probably tell you that he's stubborn, but he'd also tell you that he's right.
Which is the problem with being
what stubborn people say.
And also for Tom, the talent pool that has entered the NBA in the past couple of drafts, due to the global appeal of the game, there's going to be a lot of guys coming out of the second round with a very similar story to the Jalen Brunson archetypes or even Jokic. And again, just the way the league is structured right now, you're going to have a couple of those guys coming out of your bench and actually utilizing them, whether you're a contending team or a team that's struggling to get into the play-in. Look how the Oklahoma City Thunder were able to capture a title with guys like Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, AJ Mitchell. They got a consistent group of guys that they drafted and developed within their system.
Last thing on Thibodeau. Do you think he was surprised? Or do you think he kind of saw it coming just based on, interpersonal relationships and how things had evolved for him?
I think he was mildly surprised.
You do?
Right. like I said, he's a great coach, right? So he had probably a reason to be surprised.
I believe the only surprise was how quickly the Knicks fired him after the season ended. Because had they done it right before free agency and with the finals ending, they would have seen the reality that the Indiana Pacers were a championship team the whole time. But shout out to Thibs, he definitely deserves his flowers because he did set a standard when the Knicks were coming off those seasons with David Fizdale and fucking Jeff Hornacek. Now, James Dolan was asked about raising the championship banner, and as we all know, the media loves to try to find that trigger point to troll the Knicks fan base. Even though successful teams like the Bucks and the Lakers had won the Emirates Cup previously, but yet their banner situations wasn't really a big deal. It's amazing how that works, but I'm always saying, my fellow Knicks fans, you will have haters even through success, because all the other fan bases as well as the media, they already know the league looks quite different when the Knicks are popping. That's why they all come together like fucking Thanos and hate on you.
I can guarantee you we are not raising a banner. Not that we're not proud of winning
Yes,
it.
no, we are going to raise a banner.
No, you're not.
We're going to raise the
cup?
NBA championship banner.
Now you're talking.
That's the banner we want to raise.
Yeah.
I said for all the accomplishments way back in the day the Knicks had, James Dolan and the New York Knicks are not, as much as it's great to win. And I think what Mike Brown said afterwards, which was important, teams have to learn how to win. That was a playoff game. It was a Game 7 atmosphere. Spurs are a really good basketball team. That fourth quarter was awesome. And I'm a fan of the Cup because you get special games like that in the regular season.
Yeah,
But I know the NBA wants teams to raise a banner. The Lakers said no for a while. Eventually they did because LeBron wanted one. Milwaukee said no for a while. Eventually they did. Was there ever a thought we're going to raise an Emirates Cup banner at Madison Square Garden?
No.
Got it.
Nice. I think that makes a lot of people happy.
You're saving it for the
At least
real
I
championship.
never had that thought. I probably would have. I would have thrown the. No, that's not true. But you know, we want an NBA championship.
Right.
We don't want the consolation prize.
And how do you guys view the Cup in general? We know the players clearly want to play. How do you guys view the Cup in a game that doesn't count in the regular season? You could argue the finals is the least important game that you play in it. What's the feeling of the organization going through it, knowing you're playing games that possibly, you were talking about the injuries you're dealing with now, all that kind of ramifications of playing games that technically don't matter?
It's all equal. I mean, I think we felt good about the Cup, right?
Sure,
we
you
felt,
should.
Right, and the way, I mean, I was excited, to be honest. I mean, when we played San Antonio, I thought we were going to play OKC.
Right.
Right. And I was like, okay.
They did too, by the way.
Yeah. I thought,
We all did. I didn't think Wemby would make it to the finals, but had the Knicks played OKC in that atmosphere, that would have been a great litmus test to see where this team could be at. Because it's not necessarily about OKC, it's just about the makeup of their team. They truly represent the play style of this era right now. You got a non-traditional point guard in SGA, just like how the Knicks kind of have a non-traditional point guard in Jalen Brunson. And they also play small, very similar to the Knicks. The only difference is they have a lot of guys that are willing to get physical, like Caruso, Lou Dort. And they also have a center, our guy, Isaiah Hartenstein. And he is truly the glue that kind of makes their offense work, even though SGA and Jalen Williams are really the only on-ball shot creators. So it would have been nice to see if Karl Anthony Towns could actually dominate, as his matchup would be favorable.
you know, this is going to be a great preview. But maybe that was the preview. Maybe the
Spurs
finals
beat them 3 straight.
is Knicks Spurs. I don't know. But, you know, to get a chance at midseason, right, to try out what you're going to be like at the end of the season.
So you like
right?
it?
So
It
was exciting, and I was very proud of the guys that did a great job, and so we're proud to have the Emirates Cup, but we're going to hang a championship,
a real banner,
banner.
I'm not mad at it because the Knicks, they are a franchise that have won championships. Even though it was a while ago, they've won, and there's other franchises that have not even a division banner, but the expectations are set. As right here, James Dolan elaborates that the floor for this team is making the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I would say look, I mean, we want to get to the finals, right? And we should win the finals, right? But when it comes to, you know, this is sports. You guys, this is your business.
Right.
Anything can happen in sports. But getting to the finals, we absolutely got to do.
Yep.
Right. Winning the finals, we should win.
Mike Brown better know that.
I mean, listen.
And my man James Dolan is looking at the dollar signs because I'm not sure some of you fellas had peeped last year when MSG had dropped a pre-sale to a potential finals matchup. Them ticket prices was through the roof, and things like that are a much needed stimulus package, especially in these times when most NBA teams are trying to pivot away from the media money. They're trying to find other avenues of revenue as the local side of the TV money dries up. So now we'll hear from James Dolan further elaborating on the business side of this.
It's evolving, right? I don't think that. I think over the long term, you're probably not going to get your games from the cable company. They're probably going to
app specific.
They're going to be streaming.
Right.
Yeah. You'll get a bunch of games nationally, right? About 30 out of 80, and the rest will come to you streaming, and that's just it's just the evolution of media.
And with that evolution, it definitely will breed innovation, as the business side of the NBA will eventually spread its tentacles around real estate and possibly some of these teams building revenue streams around these arenas. For example, Golden State is already ahead of the curve, as they do have commercial real estate around their arena, as well as fine dining and other attractions. The Dumont family purchased the Mavericks ahead of legalization of gambling in Texas because they do expect to sort of kind of build almost a world-class resort around the Mavs' new arena that hopefully will also feature a casino. And all these brand new revenue streams will not be liable to any luxury tax penalties because it's money being made outside of the league. Right now in all of sports, not just the NBA, but teams are starting to look at the greater areas just outside of these metro cities due to the available land that could be purchased. Out there in Chi-Town, I believe it's the Chicago White Sox or Cubs. I believe it's the White Sox. They're actually moving away from just being in the city area due to the way that they can increase their real estate portfolio and just open up their revenue streams. That's going to be the new way franchises begin to separate themselves as the TV money is split equally among all NBA teams, and what gave the Knicks their leverage versus other NBA teams was the MSG networks. So that's a huge blow to James Dolan, and that has allowed the Golden State Warriors to leapfrog a lot of these teams. But hey, we'll see how he eventually pivots. Long gone are the days where the Knicks could just get a bunch of stars on a team and not necessarily care too much about the luxury tax payments. But with that said, James Dolan throughout the years, he's learned from a lot of past mistakes, being impatient, and also, like many other businessmen, find the right people to hire. My man nowadays is definitely cracking a lot more smiles than I would say the previous days of when he would seek revenge on guys like Charles Oakley in the Garden.
As an owner, you have to be patient, right? The guy set out a plan. When I get impatient is when we veer off the plan, right? Reach for a shiny thing.
AKA the Melo trade. Definitely was reaching for the shiny thing a little bit too fast, even though the Knicks had all the leverage. And had we waited it out, Melo would eventually arrive in New York with more reinforcements on the team, and also not allowing the Denver Nuggets, especially Masai Ujiri, to pimp the Knicks out.
Right.
Giannis. Got it. Got it.
Yeah. And think we can, win a championship or build a championship team in one fell swoop. I've been at this now for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Right. And I can tell you that, it does happen once in a while, but I don't think that's the way that, I don't think that's how we're going to win.
Should Knick fans expect any type of significant deal by the trade deadline? No. You think it's as is, these 12 guys good enough to make the run and win a championship?
That's what I think our plan is, yes. I talk to Leon every day, and, look, nothing's impossible. I won't rule anything out, but who do you want to lose? You don't get something without giving something. Right. Who do you want to lose? Right.
Right now, I'm not going to lie. The only person I wouldn't mind losing is Yabusele sometimes. But I guess we'll stay patient. And interesting enough, Dolan spoke about the Abu Dhabi experience with the Knicks. And make no mistake about it, out there, they do favor the Knicks. So internationally, there's a lot going on. A few places in the Middle East are trying to diversify their economies, and they're trying to brand their country's image a lot different, and they're doing it through sports. We could see the Qatar 2022 World Cup was a prime example, and it went through successfully. So now the local governments are looking to build on that, and that's where the NBA is looking to cash in. But James Dolan got some inside scoop down there, as they are open to the idea of the Vegas Sphere down there.
Do you like the NBA and the Knicks taking the game to Abu Dhabi and seeing Knicks fans, basketball fans, the preseason games and having a bunch of guys out there? Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, basketball for sure is an international sport. And so it makes sense for the NBA to do that. Abu Dhabi is one of my favorite places. And so...
and they're a partner of the Knicks, obviously. They have...
And they're also a partner in Sphere.
Right. They're building the second Sphere, if I'm not mistaken.
Building the second Sphere in Abu Dhabi, yeah. It's a great place. You should go.
Most people don't have that on their small list of my notifications.
Most people don't have it right now, but they do have the financial backing to make that happen. Just Qatar getting the 2022 World Cup is kind of insane, but that was great branding for that part of the region. It's almost like any other place. If you look at the history of Florida, especially Miami, it was nowhere near the attraction that it is now. So over time, the branding can change.
My cousin, as you know, lives in Abu Dhabi, but most people don't have that on a short list of vacations.
But they will.
You think so?
I think they will, yeah, because that whole area is developing, especially under the UAE. Right, they're building it out. They're transferring from oil into other industries, including entertainment, et cetera. And they're
Hey Dolan, you already know, man. You trying to get your bag down there. I see you in talks to possibly get another Sphere down there. We know
culture is developing there, and I think if they ever get through, the Middle East ever gets through all of their political troubles, right? Watch
Cross
out.
your fingers on that.
They could be the next U.S.
Oh, best believe that can happen. That can happen with the right amount of money and marketing. That can happen.
And do you still enjoy being a professional team owner in New York City? That's the loaded question of the day.
Let me tell you something about ownership. Ownership is not an achievement, right?
Okay.
You own something, right? You have a beautiful car, right? You own it. That's not an achievement, right? If you built it, okay,
sure,
right? Then when you drive around, you can feel like you have an achievement. I always want to try and achieve something. So I'm still enjoying participating in the team building, et cetera. But I don't fool myself, right? The ownership's not an achievement.
Hey, well said. Well said from James Dolan. He found the right people to hire to get this Knicks team organized, as well as the New York Rangers. Both teams are definitely doing their thing, and that is the hardest part of running an enterprise like MSG. And all of New York is waiting on that achievement of an NBA championship. All right, so former Knick Theo Pinson and his crew debated whether Jalen Brunson, with a few more seasons, could he be remembered as one of the greatest Knicks ever. And we're going to get into a nice mixed bag with this, because when it comes to the New York Knicks and just having your jersey hung up there in the rafters in Madison Square Garden, there is a standard that's already set, and it's pretty high, believe it or not. Unfortunately, due to the lack of success of the team in recent years, some of the more recent portion of the fan base might not be well aware of it. Again, we're going to get into a nice little mixed bag right here. As first, I'm going to start off with a little backdrop of Mark Jackson giving Patrick Ewing his flowers. And this is why this subject is a little bit complicated, because Patrick Ewing does have the longevity with being with the team and just putting up the numbers. Walt Clyde Frazier has the titles, and a guy like Carmelo Anthony has the branding.
We took the Bulls to Game 7, and we were a loaded basketball team. Toughness, edge, confidence. We earned the right to come back. I can remember Pat Riley one day talking to me, and he said if he had to do it again, he wouldn't have done it.
And what about Patrick? Is this something you guys talk about?
Well, always, because, I humbly submit I was the one guard that he had that, delivered the ball where he wanted at all times, and we had great chemistry. I don't even think it's close, and I say this with great respect. Like you, I grew up a Knicks fan, so I know Earl Monroe, Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, Dick Barnett, Dean Manager. I know all of those guys.
Yeah.
It's not even close who the greatest Knick of all time is. Patrick Ewing is the all-time leading scorer, rebounder, block shots, games played, minutes played, playoff point, whatever you want to look at, he's the all-time leader.
And we also have to include, he's lost to a lot of champions at the end of the day. Michael Jordan quite a few times and Akeem Olajuwon. And the craziest thing is at this very moment, with the NBA just sort of allowing players freedom of movement, with the exaggeration on the gather dribble, leading up to 2 more steps, that finger roll that Patrick Ewing had going up against the Pacers, that would have been a dunk in today's NBA. He does have the longevity over his predecessors, but at the end of the day, those very same guys did set the standard so high. We're talking about Walt Clyde Frazier, Willis Reed, Bill Bradley, Dave DeBusschere. They went up against the best of their era. We're talking about guys like Elgin Baylor, who's had multiple seasons averaging 35 points a game, Jerry West, and of course, Wilt Chamberlain. So this is kind of a gray area because once again, the standard is set so high by Patrick Ewing's predecessors. I mean, just look at Walt Clyde Frazier in Game 7 against the Lakers. My guy had 36 points, 19 assists, 11 rebounds, and 5 steals. Talk about wheeling and dealing. Clyde was all over the place. And he was one hell of a defender with his quick hands and a hell of a rebounder. And also in that very same Game 7, Dave DeBusschere went off for 18 points and 17 rebounds. And we're talking about Wilt was down there in the middle with a 6'9" Willis Reed, who's tough as nails, as the team captain. So once again, the bar is set pretty high for guys to have their jerseys lifted in the rafters at MSG, even though the franchise haven't had success in 40 plus years. But when they did, they went up against the creme de la creme.
Games played, minutes played, playoff point, whatever you want to look at, he's the all-time leader. It's disrespect to name anybody else. And the fact that he left it in between those lines, like nobody other than that, I don't think he gets enough credit. And it's great to see him back working for the Knicks and embraced by this fan base that he deserves it and they deserve it.
Yes, sir. Number 33 deserves all the praise. He leads the franchise in points, rebounds, blocks, and steals. It's funny because a lot of Knick legends, they were sort of two-way players. You look at Walt Clyde Frazier, how many times he made the All-NBA defensive team. It's roughly around 7 times. And the same thing for Dave DeBusschere, even though he had long-distance shooting capabilities. So once again, the bar is set pretty high by the guys who played in the 70s. Even their second championship run, with Elgin Baylor having his Achilles injury, no longer playing for the Lakers, they still had to go through all-time Hall of Famers, Gail Goodrich, Jerry West, and Wilt Chamberlain. But former Knick Dale Penson and his crew talked about Jalen Brunson and his recent run with the Knicks, and if he keeps it up for a few more seasons, will he be able to get to that level? You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
By the end of his time, will Jalen Brunson be the best Knick of all time?
I can't speak on that.
Got the possibility. Jalen Brunson be what?
Best Knick of all time.
Got the possibility.
By the end of his career.
That's fair to say.
You got the
if he stays with the
Hey,
Knicks,
I'll tell you
that's
this
fair.
right now, Ray.
That's
I go on record. He win a chip.
Oh, he win. No, if he win a chip, it's a wrap.
It's over.
He win a chip.
If he goes to the finals, it's over.
You know the
My man Theo Penson is off that yak. If he goes to the finals, it's over. Patrick Ewing made the All-Star team while on the Knicks for 11 seasons. JB still got a ways to go, but in the paint, when he gets to his spots, I'm not going to lie, he's looking like Ewing out there. And from three-point range, as well as outside the paint, he's shooting like Bernard King, who's basically a Kevin Durant for the New York Knicks franchise. Just his ability to be a pure scorer is unmatched. He had multiple seasons under his belt, just shooting over 55% from the field.
best Knick of all time right now, just winning, got to be Walt Frazier.
Oh, you going way back. I wasn't even born.
That's the last championship, bro.
Now that energy right there, when he says you're going way back, that sentiment right there doesn't make sense because you're going up against a guy who's the NBA logo right now and Wilt Chamberlain, who still holds many records of the NBA today. So that's just not a thing you can just brush off. the Knicks won 2 championships going up against those guys, with the additions of Hall of Famers like Elgin Baylor in the 1970s and also Gail Goodrich in 1973.
I wasn't even born.
That's the last championship, bro.
I mean, you got to think it's probably
It's the
Walt
last
Frazier,
championship.
In the 70s?
Patrick
Yeah,
Ewing,
73, right?
Bernard King, like
You
those.
got
Bernard King in there, Patrick. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Melo.
Now, Bernard King did not last on the Knicks too long because of his ACL injury. Any type of Achilles or ACL, guys' careers pretty much change or it ended. But he had a solid 3-year peak with the Knicks before that injury.
Bernard King, like
You
those.
got
Bernard King in there, Patrick. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Melo.
But I'm saying if he
Melo.
He overshoots any
the
modern
years
Knick
he's having right now,
going to the finals.
if he plays another 7 years,
he
No,
will
he got a good chance. No, he got a good chance.
If he keep playing the way he playing, they will crown him.
It's not just that, Theo. JB is elevating offensively to a level that we've seen James Harden with the Houston Rockets. That Mike Brown offense has put him back in a role that he hasn't seen since he was in Dallas, where he's getting a lot of open corner threes or even being put in an easier position to get open looks anywhere in the court. Just that free-flowing offense that allows him to create opportunities off the ball, yeah, it's definitely unlocking multiple layers to his offensive game.
I mean,
That's fair.
Does he overtake Melo, Patrick Ewing,
Yes,
every modern
yes,
Knick
yes.
to go to the finals?
And if he wins a chip, that's it. You got that over.
I think he just got to go to the finals. If he go to the,
Nah,
if
he got to win it.
Nah, he got to win it.
They
He got to
ain't-
win
they
it.
ain't
Patrick Ewing been
sniffed
in the
the
final a
finals,
couple
Ray.
times.
I know,
they
but
ain't sniffed it.
I know, but they got to win it.
They gotta win
He
it.
has to win it. I'm telling you, that's just how New York works.
If he go,
wins it, he's the best nigga of all time.
Now, Raymond Felton, we also have to add on that he has to have some sort of longevity with the team. That is a brand new standard that Patrick Ewing set above the guys from the 70s. And with modern science and just the way the technology is today, JB got a good path ahead of him to do so.
If he wins it,
There's no
it's no. So what I'm saying is, we just said if he plays 6 or 7 more years dominating,
He's
correct?
going to elevate over Melo.
He's going to elevate over those guys. If he gets to the finals, he might be already over those guys.
don't you dare bring up Melo.
If he,
Hey, you already know. He's already over Melo. That's the quiet part I'm going to say out loud. He's already over Melo. Every season so far he's been with the Knicks, they have gotten to the second round.
he sits here and wins it, he's definitely the best Knick.
So who's the biggest Knick now? Right now?
We have to put
The
him over
biggest
Melo,
Nick
though.
right now?
Yeah. I say Patrick Ewing is the big, I think. But I don't know. You tell me, right? You played for the Knicks. Shit.
Hold on. Sorry. go
Bernard
ahead.
King was, well, we talking about,
Damn, my man Ray stumbling and fumbling. He don't know what to say. I got you, Ray. So it's a little bit difficult to decide who's who, but Ewing definitely having that longevity changed the conversation a little bit more. And once again, he leads the franchise in points, rebounds, blocks, steals. And he does have a history of the players that he lost to in the playoffs. They end up winning the championship, a.k.a. Hakeem and Jordan.
Nick fans, what they think, or we talking about just basketball, the history, like where we going? Because if it's just today right now, fans, when Melo come to a game, it's crazy. And I've been there when it's applause for him, applause for Patrick, applause for Bernard King.
Yeah, I mean, it's different
I've seen
time.
all the-
It's different time.
That's what I'm
As I stated before, Melo has the branding and he has the more recent connection. More generations can gravitate and connect towards him. Most of us don't even have the full understanding of the fashion sense of what led Clyde Frazier to dress the way he does. Because, we don't really come from that era.
saying. So
Different time.
if you're talking about right now, it's Melo. He's the most popular and the biggest Knick player right now. I'm just being honest.
Relevant.
Relevant Knick.
Relevant, yes.
I would say relevant also, and he does have the branding and presence in social media, especially with his 7 p.m. Brooklyn show, and he's also killing it with Amazon's NBA show.
Let me ask you guys this, right?
Basketball,
Career-wise,
though?
Basketball's
Bernard.
JB.
Huh?
I think JB's over Melo right now.
He's not over Melo.
He took him to
Yeah, he's over Melo, fellas. That's a tough pill to swallow. That branding is strong, but he is over Melo right now. Yes. He doesn't even have to score more points than Melo. Just the team success alone. The Garden has not felt like that since Ewing was there. I mean, shit, look at all the former players that came out. We never seen John Starks look like that at MSG as a spectator. I mean, my man be looking lit. I don't know if he got some shorts underneath there and he's about to hop on the court, but starts looking like he's ready to be in that game. Hey, this is where this conversation gonna get uncomfortable for some, because when you talk about just the on-court game, yes, he surpassed him. But to counter that, there's going to be a lot of outside noise being tossed in, all the branding, the popularity, etc.
You're going off relevancy, right? You're going off like you're right now of.
Melo is a Hall of Famer. He has a jacket.
Yeah, bro.
He has a jacket.
Yeah.
So does Tracy McGrady.
Has a jacket too.
You say he has a jacket.
I'm falling back. I disagree, but
Is ain't Melo in the top 75 all time?
Yeah,
he
bro.
is. But
He
I'm
had that
talking about
jacket
pure
too.
Knicks career only. You can.
And they left Walt Clyde Frazier out of that shit. That list don't even count. They put Damian Lillard in that list above Dwight Howard. I don't know about that.
Jacket too. You say he has a jacket.
I'm falling back. I disagree, but
Is ain't Melo in the top 75 all time?
Yeah,
he
bro.
is. But
He
I'm
had that
talking about
jacket
pure
too.
Knicks career only. You compare the playoff success.
Melo did some
Success,
crazy. Melo did some crazy stuff at the Knicks, bro.
Nah, you can't put Brunson. You can't put him over. He has to finish his career.
He can't be.
And then we got to look
We're
at
only
it.
talking his Knicks.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. You don't even have to include the Eastern Conference Finals in that resume. You could just include the first couple of seasons. The win against Donovan Mitchell and the Cavaliers. Then the Knicks lost to the Heat in the second round. Then the next season, beating the reigning MVP Joel Embiid in that playoff series. That's another thing that does not get talked about right here. Jalen Brunson beat the reigning MVP in a playoff series. And this is while the Knicks had an injury-riddled team. Shit, they continue to lose players in the playoffs. Mitch got hurt. We had a three-point shooter. Was it Bogdan or Bojan? One of them got hurt. The Knicks had Isaiah Hartenstein starting. That's how he ended up earning a large contract out there in Oklahoma City. So Brunson was working really with a lot of replacements and just a lot of Band-Aids. But yet, he was still cooking up Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. So once again, just those first two seasons, you could already kind of put him above Melo. That shit is uncomfortable to say, but hey, it is what it is. Melo couldn't even defeat a young Paul George, but yet JB took down the reigning MVP of the league. Like, come on, bro.
Bro, how many conference finals has the Knicks been?
He's only been there 3
How many
years,
conference finals has Melo taken the Knicks to?
He ain't been in none.
So is Kawhi the best Toronto Raptor ever?
Ooh, put that on him, Theo. What'd you say?
He got on my head about that shit.
No. That's a good point.
Oh, he is, apparently.
He
Your
is
standard.
the best player to ever play for the Raptors, yes.
And you gonna disrespect me like
He's
that?
the best player to ever.
Yeah, he's the best player to ever play for the Raptors. That is 100% facts. He beat Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson in the finals. Even with them injured, his finals run was legendary. He beat Giannis. He beat Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, all in one playoff round. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Once again, that branding with certain stars in the NBA, it's so strong that guys just overlook what exactly happened on the court.
No.
He's gonna disrespect me like that. My face, home. I respect it.
Over Vince?
Over Vince, yes. He's the best player to ever put on a Raptors jersey. Doesn't mean
Not
he has
over
the best
Vince.
Hey, Vince Carter, just like Melo, great branding that's behind them. That's probably the most powerful tool that the NBA has. It's just the marketing is so strong. The league in a way is 60% marketing, 30% business, and 10% basketball.
Bro,
he was there for 6 months.
Chris Bosh?
I said the best
Okay,
player.
cool.
I didn't say the best career with the Raptors. There's a different conversation.
He ain't
The
the
best
best
player to ever
player?
see
No, but I'm saying
Over
your
Chris
argument
Bosh?
was
Over
Bosh and
Chris
Vince?
Bosh
argument
and
was
Vince.
in the your argument
Chris
was in
Bosh
that
and
uniform.
Vince?
and that's why I said to you,
Okay,
you have a
gotcha.
point.
Gotcha.
But
Chris Bosh
playoff
and
success.
Vince?
But Jalen Brunson's done it for 3 years. He's been in the Eastern Conference Finals twice.
So your big thing is playoff success.
No, I'm just saying that you could argue that because he has a similar numbers to Melo and he has more playoff success. So I think it's a discussion. That's all I'm saying.
This is discussion. He's not there yet, though.
It is what it is. The standard for the Knicks legendary players of the 70s. Again, the bar is set so high because it's just the level of competition they were facing. They faced the top of the top guys that are still legendary to this day. Jerry West, Will Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor. Our Knick legends were still able to bring it home. But unfortunately, because back then an ACL or an Achilles injury could derail guys' careers, they were not able to have longevity with their teams. And also the league financially was in a different place. Walt Clyde Frazier has said multiple times when he retired, he thought the NBA was going broke. So fast forward in the future, Patrick Ewing set another standard by just having that longevity with the Knicks, multiple final appearances, multiple All-Star appearances, 11 times. And he did all these things without playing alongside another Hall of Famer. That's another thing we cannot overlook. Once again, he leads the franchise in points, rebounds, blocks, and steals, and all this was done without another Hall of Famer alongside him. At the end of the day, there's multiple ways to approaching the conversation. Maybe you could put certain guys in a tier group, like Bernard King, Earl the Pearl, Carmelo Anthony, Allen Houston. Or you could look at it through clutch performance, like Jalen Brunson, Bill Bradley, and Walt Clyde Frazier. It is what it is. Just don't let the Knicks' lack of success make you think that there's not a standard to have your jersey hung up in the rafters. There definitely is, and the bar is set real high. So this is going to be quite an interesting segment right here, as Rich Paul and LeBron James kind of launched a Cold War podcast with Max Kellerman, as the King himself will be taking a lot of arrows from the media in his final season in LA. And within the numerous episodes, they dropped a lot of gems on some of the future moves that they will make, and they used a lot of football analogies to do so, comparing some of the top NFL quarterbacks who are possibly on the move. They also gave Mike Brown plenty of praise, as they do have a relationship with him, but again, anything that LeBron James does is very calculated, and it leads us to wonder if they're looking for any wiggle room to slither their way into the Knicks situation. I'm sure the fellas at Clutch Sports understand when it comes to LeBron's branding, winning 1 championship in New York will be like winning 3. But again, this is interesting. And Rich Paul also elaborated on the full scope of what happened to Cam Reddish. So we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes. You guys check it out. And every once in a while, I'll check in.
So as currently constructed, you don't love the Lakers' chances?
No.
Is LeBron realistically a guy who could not be on the Lakers at the end of this year?
No.
He will be on the Lakers at the end of this year.
Yeah, where's he going to go?
I mean, New York comes to mind.
That's wishful thinking,
If they
Max.
can't,
You're from New York.
The Knicks would love Giannis, right, or someone like that, but the price tag for a 100-year-old guy making $50 million a year is a lot lower. And actually, I think as a kid who grew up rooting for the Knicks, he's still in me somewhere. You know, I don't think the Knicks can win a championship as currently constructed
Does LeBron
either,
make the
because
Knicks
Brunson's
better?
too small.
Yes.
Yeah,
he would, of
Yeah.
course. But
Whoa, not so fast, Rich. It depends. If LeBron James does show up in New York, eventually it would have to be as a free agent, and also he would have to take a significant pay cut as well as play limited minutes off the bench. So with you guys so brand conscious, I don't believe it could end up working out unless you guys are willing to accept these terms. The Knicks already are a team that's lacking a lot of athleticism, especially in the backcourt. If they could swap out Yabusele for LeBron James, it would make sense in a perfect world. But that's a hypothetical, as once again, the salaries and just all kinds of shit comes in the mix. But for what LeBron James does today, the Knicks don't necessarily need that unless he's kind of coming off the bench, playing about 15 to 20 minutes a game, as crazy as that sounds. Once again, LeBron James will just be another slow player in the perimeter, and adding on to the fact that the Knicks are lacking a lot of athleticism in the backcourt. But they do need another big body, so LeBron James, if he's willing to get there down in the post and get dirty, who knows?
But 29 other teams would say the same thing.
But they don't have the assets or the need quite, or are in the position or are in the market that makes sense for LeBron. Like if the Knicks can't land a guy like Giannis, which let's see them do it. It's hard to do.
Very hard to do.
And they'd have to give up so much to get Giannis. And you can give up less and get LeBron, who really the Knicks just got to strike while the iron's hot, right?
The iron's not hot, Max, unfortunately. Not right now. If the iron was hot, he would have worked out an extension with the Lakers. So you're pretty much stuck in the past right now. And second of all, the Knicks could possibly get him on a minimum contract next season if he doesn't want to retire.
Is there anyone in the East so good that if you took, I don't know, just say OG, or it could be Towns, off the Knicks and drop LeBron on, that the Knicks would be overmatched against anyone in the East?
No, that makes the Knicks extremely, extremely strong. But
this is what I'm saying.
But
come on, Rich, you bullshitting right here. I don't know what the fuck is he talking about. Get rid of OG? But you rocking out for your mans. I get it. At the end of the day, if you guys do end up coming to New York next season, you are riding on the coattails of this team. Don't get it twisted. The real question is, will the Knick base be willing to accept these guys? Because the media is going to narrate this story as if LeBron James is the reason why the Knicks got to a championship or even won a championship. These guys might believe that they're a bigger brand than the Cleveland Cavaliers logo, but they'll never be anywhere close being on par with the Knicks logo. I don't know how Rich Paul and LeBron James hijacked the Lakers brand, but in the past few seasons, they have put on a master class on fucking holding that franchise hostage. We all gotta wonder if the juice is gonna be worth the squeeze, because these guys are gonna try to do the same thing if they come out here. And as we'll continue throughout this segment, you'll see Rich Paul slowly slithering his way as he overpraises Mike Brown.
Haven't won since I'm 52. I was born in 73, but in August, they haven't won since January of that year.
But the only way that would happen and could happen, first of all, he has a no trade clause, so he would have to agree to that. In the event he didn't, and they just decided to trade him there. But
what do you think? I'm just between you and me, Rich. I know you wouldn't have any special insight into this, but do you think you could talk LeBron, or don't know anyone who could talk LeBron into waiving a no trade clause to go to New York?
Oh,
New York.
I mean, listen, he definitely makes him better. I will give you that.
If you could,
come on, Rich, fuck out of here with that bullshit. And second of all, for most of LeBron James's career, you guys have always been in a cold war with the Knicks. I don't know if it's a CAA versus Clutch thing or whatever fallout you had with Leon Rose, claiming that you didn't learn anything from them when you went on Stephen A. Smith's show. So we have seen plenty of the politicking playing out.
Could stay
I
healthy.
don't really play fantasy basketball.
Right.
But
I do.
He definitely makes him better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Knicks, because they played last night too. There were two NBA games. There's the Magic Heat and there was the Knicks and Raptors. Magic beat the Heat, Knicks beat the Raptors. And Bridges, the Knicks gave up a lot for. A lot of picks. They gave up a lot for Bridges. When you see like what Durant was eventually moved for, it's like that.
Yeah, but see, this is the problem.
You're saying
I
they
have.
didn't give up a lot for
I'm
Bridges?
not saying they did not give up a lot. But again, when you're in a situation where you feel like if we get this player.
Okay, wait, stay right there. This is what I'm saying. So I think of a guy like Desmond Bane, getting back to Bane. If you have a team of 5 guys who all do their job as well as Desmond Bane does his job, you can win a championship, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like at Bill James, the baseball's, godfather of sabermetrics in baseball, once did this, and I thought it was interesting because I used to think about this because I'm a sports nut, is like, at what point, if you said of all time or in the league right now, if you took the NBA, all NBA 1, 2, 3, 4, at what point do you no longer have a championship team? At the all NBA 6 level, 7 level, 8 level, right? There are 30 starters at each position. If you have a Desmond Bane level player at each position, I think you can win a championship. If you have a Mikal,
Well, we just saw that.
If you have a Mikal Bridges level player at every position, I don't think so. I think he's good, but you're going to need a little bit more in certain areas now.
Well, see, you're discounting one thing.
Go ahead.
Whatever you think Mikal Bridges lack, and
he's good. I like Bridges.
But
he does what he's supposed to do.
You're basing it off a skill set, right?
No. I'm basing it off of how highly pitched each skill is. Like you could have someone, you mentioned a bag. You could have someone who's a very well-rounded player and 2 players, both very well-rounded. But one of them has a talent just pitched a little higher. They both shoot the 3 really well, but one shoots 38 and one shoots 42%. They both.
But what if one lacks IQ?
That's one of the things you're checking for sure.
Yeah, but then the other thing is, what if he also lacks IQ and willingness?
I think that's a good point, and I understand it, and I agree with it. I'm trying to talk about the Knicks for a second, though.
Because you're from New York, or you just want to talk about
maybe, but because I think it's interesting right now, and this is the point that I'm trying to make, is that you can have guys on a team where at every position they do what you want them to do and still not win a championship because you're not playing in a vacuum. You're playing against 29 other teams, and a lot of them are really good. Even if they don't have every position doing exactly what you need, they have some dudes who are just so good that they can make up some of the difference, right?
Right.
So the Knicks are a team. Look, if Josh Hart shot the ball better, they would have almost everyone on that team doing what you want them to do. right? They have a really nice situation. If Mitch had a better free throw, if he was a better free throw shooter, right?
Yeah, but just like, I mean, of course you want every.
But what I'm saying is, then it becomes an issue of not just do you have all the positions and do they do what they're supposed to do and do they have well-rounded skill sets for what their job entails, right? But at what level are they functioning?
But you're not going to have 4 guys on the team doing things better than they already doing. Like, that's like...
No. I'm using the example of Desmond Bane because I need a guy to play defense. I need a guy to shoot and whatever and fit into a team concept. And that's what he does.
And he's really the only shooter on that team. But Max's analogy wouldn't work with LeBron being on the Knicks because he would actually bring down some of those guys due to his play style, his dominant play style, especially being an older player. Instead of the ball moving in that free-flowing Mike Brown offense, guys would have to guess of when he's going to give them the ball. This worked well in his younger years, but nowadays, especially with his defense, yeah, it's not going to be the same. That's why I said, like, he would have to come to New York and play 15 to 20 minutes off the bench. And we already know with his brand, that shit ain't happening.
Issue is maybe, but you don't want to pay a max deal to that guy, ideally, right?
It depends.
But what I'm saying is there are levels. There's that, and then there's Klay Thompson, who also does what Desmond Bane does now, but at a higher level, right?
But he did it at a higher level because his team played for higher stakes.
And he's just a better shooter, a little bit.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying. But here's what I'm saying.
A little bit taller, a little bit better defensively, right? Just a little better.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with his team played for higher stakes. If you put Klay Thompson on the Memphis Grizzlies and they got bounced out the playoffs, first round, second round, you wouldn't feel the way you feel about him. The reason why you feel the way you feel about Klay. Are you
arguing though? But
I'm not arguing that Bane is a better shooter than Klay.
Okay, so
absolutely not. Klay is arguably the best shooter top 3 we ever seen.
This is what I'm saying. If you look at the Knicks roster, what I've been trying to say is if you look at the Knicks roster, this is the best starting 5 of my lifetime on the Knicks.
What?
The Patrick Ewing teams were better. Patrick Ewing was like all NBA all the time, right? There's no one like that except for maybe now Brunson on this team.
The best starting 5 of your lifetime?
On the Knicks.
What year were you born?
73.
What year was Clyde Frazier?
That was, okay, fine, of my conscious lifetime, all right? My point is,
I'm sure
the Knicks
we can go
starting
past
5 that got to the finals was Patrick Ewing. The second best player was probably Charles Oakley. So you had like one all NBA
the 2 or 3 second best player was Charles Oakley
probably
on that
on that Knicks team.
Yeah, I believe it was Charles Oakley and John Starks. They both performed at an all-star level that season. But Patrick Ewing does not get enough credit because he is perhaps the greatest Knick, and he never really had another Hall of Famer playing alongside him. And even Earl the Pearl. Guys like Walt Clyde Frazier had Willis Reed, Bill Bradley, Dave DeBusschere.
So you had like one all NBA
the 2 or 3
second best
team.
player
was Charles Oakley
probably
on
that Knicks team that went to the finals, probably. And then maybe John Starks, who really should have been a 6th man. I mean, that's the truth. The point is, this Knicks team doesn't really have a guy who you look at and say, man, he's below average.
I think
in
on
the
that
starting
team,
5.
I think on that team, Charles Oakley was probably the most impactful player because he did all things.
Right.
The best player obviously was Ewing.
Right.
The second best offensive,
John Starks.
Yeah, was John
Who was
Starks.
really a 6th man who was forced into
wait a
the
minute.
role.
Oh, you're talking about the 95 team.
Yeah, wait. I'm saying that even if you have Camby and Ewing was old by that point and Houston and Sprewell, when you look at each position on this Knicks team, it checks the box the way we're talking about. Like Jalen Brunson is a great point guard. Bridges, you want to call him a wing? Fine. He does the job he's supposed to do. Karl Anthony Towns is
Karl Anthony Towns is going to be the real wild card right here. How consistent not only his defense is going to be from night to night, but how well will he ingratiate himself into that Mike Brown offense going from quarter to quarter? Because sometimes he's straight disappearing.
An all-star every year.
OG?
OG is excellent. That's just what you want, right? Like it's checking everything, every position. It's like there's no gaping hole. And my point is, it's still not enough because in the NBA, it also matters how highly pitched the talent is.
False. Going up against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, they prove what exactly Max just said is no longer the case. When you got role players like Ben Shepherd, Matherin coming off the bench having 2 20-point games against the Knicks, and also in the NBA Finals he did the same thing. Today's top teams go by the same formula. You got star duos and effective players coming off the bench, as well as other role players in the starting lineup that's contributing on a night-to-night basis. The 2025 NBA Finals was a perfect reflection of that. OKC had a number of swing players, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso. And this season, we're seeing the Knicks sort of follow the same formula. That's why James Dolan, in his media appearance, has stated one of the reasons why it didn't work out with Tom Thibodeau is because they needed him to play more of the younger guys. This is just where the league is at today. There's just so much talent coming in. I mean, look at the Knicks themselves. They got Mitchell Robinson, a second-round draft pick. He was able to work his way up and earn a decent contract. Guys are even now going undrafted, being eligible for $100 million plus contracts, aka Austin Reeves, Fred VanVleet, Jimmy Butler. You could look at Jalen Brunson, second-round pick. Same thing for Jokic. When we see the NBA evolving like this and you have Tom Thibodeau not willing to play young guys, it's just not a good recipe. Obi Toppin in the NBA Finals, look how effective he was. He had multiple games where he was just coming in and causing havoc. That shit is definitely crazy because when he was in New York, Thibs was giving him no burn.
For example, if Bridges was better at all the things he does, then you would look at the Knicks and go, they could win a championship.
So if Bridges was, you're saying, if Bridges was Jalen Williams from OKC,
yes,
they win.
Now that Jalen Williams out of OKC, you know, we're always hearing about the Knicks missing out on Donovan Mitchell in the draft, but in the future, when they want to play Monday morning quarterback, they're going to look back at Jalen Williams because he's going to be a real effective wingman alongside SGA. They're on a trajectory of being today's Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. As crazy as that sounds, Jalen Williams on his come up did not get any NIL. He wasn't highly recruited. He didn't get any of the praises most of the top draft picks get when coming into the league. And at the age of 24, I gotta say, he's done something that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, when they were on their come up trying to get to the finals, he got over that playoff hump a lot quicker alongside SGA. They got back-to-back seasons at the top of the Western Conference. They not only got into the finals, but they won over 80 games last season. First NBA All-Defense for J-Dub. I'm telling you, so far, they got the makings of perhaps finishing as one of the top duos to ever do it. That's if things continue on the up and up. So that was another steal in the draft by Sam Presti. Once again, the Knicks, they had a chance to draft him. But it shows you how deep some of these drafts really are. Just talent levels just getting up there.
Look at them differently. You'd say, you know what? They're getting out of the East. They're probably getting out of the East, at least. Right? Yes, this is what I'm saying. So you can rank these guys.
So if Bridges was Durant,
Bridges was Durant,
they win.
If Bridges, Kevin Durant, Knicks win the championship. This is what I'm saying. My
Why
point
do you think
is,
the Knicks
you
went and
can
got, let me ask you a question.
You can rank players.
Why do you think the Knicks went and got Mikal Bridges?
That's what they thought they needed.
No, but why?
Because I would describe him as 3 and B plus. He can do what you're looking for. And also, if you need him to do a little more, at least they were hoping, he could do a little more. And I think in retrospect, and I like Bridges a lot, he's a good player. I like him. I'm glad he's on the Knicks. If he was a little bit more of what they thought they were getting, the Knicks would be viewed differently right now.
I believe Mikal Bridges is exactly what the Knicks thought they were getting. And that's why the move to get Mike Brown was pretty genius, because now he's going to integrate a more free-flowing offense, and that's where you see Bridges really thrives off of. The whole Tom Thibodeau, Jalen Brunson just beating the ball down. We all seen Bridges really couldn't find his way in that.
I think Mikal Bridges is a winning player.
Agreed.
I think he's a guy that will do whatever the coach asks him to do. I think they went and got Mikal Bridges because the year before, if I'm not mistaken, they lost to who? Boston in the playoffs?
Right.
Right. And that Boston team had Holiday at the time.
Brown,
Tatum.
No, they lost to Indiana. Could be a misstep on Max's part, but at the end of the day, the real purpose of this show is sort of to serve as a medium to prevent all the arrows from coming LeBron James's way, and they're giving out small hints here and there of what exactly is their next moves, and they're sort of trying to control the narrative.
Right, and that Boston team had Holiday at the time.
Brown,
Tatum. So now you go and get OG. You already have Josh Hart, and you get Mikal, because when the going gets tough, you need defenders to guard those guys.
I agree. We're saying the same.
Yeah,
I'm
but
saying
if
the Knicks, the talent is pitched higher.
I just think I don't.
You don't believe in the talent?
No,
I believe Max is talking about a different era of the NBA. He's not talking about today. It changed so fucking fast that even when Stephen Curry was doing his thing back in the mid-2010s, even that era is outdated. The talent level today, even coming out of the middle of the draft and even the undrafted, is a lot higher than in previous decades.
I think the Knicks could have got there last year and won the championship last year.
They could not, obviously.
Yeah, but again,
2 years ago they were snake bit and they got hurt. Last year Indiana was better last year.
No, I think playoff series are about momentum. Something changes. You know, you may get into a little shooting funk. It's little things that happen. It could be a defensive scheme. It could be the team is just hot. Like, it's all these different things.
I watched that, and what I saw was Knicks got unlucky 2 years ago. They were a better team than Indiana, period. They would have beaten Indiana. They were too banged up. They were missing players.
Facts. But yet, Jalen Brunson was still able to take the Knicks over the reigning MVP, Joel Embiid. That shit does not get talked about enough. But going into last season in that loss in the Eastern Conference Finals, Indiana definitely was a championship team in disguise. And they really took that mask off when they got to the finals. I believe had Leon Rose in the Knicks front office actually waited before firing Thibs and just kind of let that finals pass by, their reevaluations on the job that he did would be a lot different.
So they lost to Indiana. In the rematch the following year, Indiana ascended and became a better team than the Knicks.
I think the Knicks are a surface level trade away from making it to the finals.
No, Rich, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I believe you and your boy LeBron are a surface level away from making it to the fucking play-in. Let's keep it a buck. And it's only gonna be a matter of time before Laker fans start picking up that Rob Pelinka does not know what he's doing, and he's going to waste Luka's prime years in LA. It's amazing how he has Luka and LeBron on his team, but yet barely made any offseason moves.
I think the Knicks are a surface level trade away from making it to the finals.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
Now,
and you know who you would bring in? You would bring in some version of Mikal Bridges who's a little better than he is. And I'm not knocking Bridges. It's like what got me thinking about this was both games last night.
I'm not touching my wings. I'm not touching my wings.
So what are you doing?
I think it's somewhere in the guard vicinity.
Because you have to make up for okay. I'll go with that. The issue they have in the backcourt is you have one guy who's a defensive liability, but he has to be on the floor because he's incredible offensively, and he's the engine of your whole team. And you have another guy who doesn't like last night when Josh Hart started hitting everything, they win the game. If Hart was a 40% three-point shooter, then they might not need anything, but he's not.
Yeah, look, again, Josh Hart is another winning player. See, I think you're underestimating the winning guys that they have on the team.
I love Hart. I don't want Hart to go anywhere. I love Bridges. I like these. I love their team.
Yeah,
I'm saying they paid for a player in Bridges. They paid a certain amount. And the reason they paid that amount is when they were squinting at Bridges in Brooklyn and thinking if that's who they thought they were getting, and they got a version of that didn't ascend, right? It's not quite as much as they need.
You can make the argument Yeah, it's needed.
And Josh Hart doesn't shoot it well enough.
You need things in the cupboard like draft picks if you want to make a big splash deal down the road.
And he's stuck on the whole you gave up 5 draft picks. That era is over. Luka Doncic got traded for 1 draft pick. Does it mean he's worth that? No. It's circumstantial. And a lot of the draft picks the Knicks did have, some of them might not convert because they were protected picks. So continuing on, every once in a while, Rich Paul, he throws in a little praise for the Knicks. And he admits the truth of why all the other fan bases almost come together like Thanos and hate on the Knicks.
They have to go 3-0. The Eagles have to go 0-3.
Eagles not going 0-3.
No.
But it's just always better when the Cowboys are in the playoffs.
I don't know about that. I think
it is. It's just like it's better when the Knicks are in the playoffs.
I think
the league is in trouble. But here's what I want to say.
Does that mean this year?
It could be this year.
That's what I'm saying. The cup might
possibly
be a preview of the finals. Knicks and Spurs could be the finals.
See, I got to keep my eye on you because you say stuff just because it's New York, right? But I listen.
You see the way Towns has been playing defense recently?
Towns has stepped it up. Here's the thing. I always said the Knicks are a surface level trade of getting to the finals, not surface level.
What's surface
I believe.
level mean?
I just think somewhere in the guard space, right?
Okay.
Because, like when the Pistons won, one day it was Aguirre, one day it was
if
Vinny
Josh
Johnson.
Hart shot it better from 3, they wouldn't need anything.
I'm just saying they
need a little
they're
something.
surface level trade. But think about the Spurs for a second. The way you win against the Thunder is what they shown us. They had guys that can switch, right?
Yeah.
They had guys, you talk about advancing the ball straight off the rebound, boom, kicking it ahead. Guys made shots. If the Spurs make shots, they're a very tough team to beat, fully healthy. But then they got 5 guys that can make a play.
That's the thing. That, like what you just said, when the Warriors had Dre at the 5 and played 5 out because he had so much space to shoot and then so he shot like 38% from 3 1 year.
And they had those shooters coming off the misdirection and
it's crazy.
slipping and they
But
back
what
cut.
this is on the Spurs is you got 5 dudes who are all playmakers and one of them is 7'5" or whatever he is.
Well,
it's a whole
can we talk
lot.
about this for a second?
The Knicks in reality do have the playmakers to make it happen on the offensive end. But unlike the Spurs, they don't play with the same level of physicality. Or should I say, unlike the Oklahoma City Thunder that kind of have the same makeup as the Knicks. They play small, but their guys are way more physical. Lou Dort, SGA, Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe. That level of physicality makes up for that size difference.
Because I tell you, man, the Thunder and the Spurs are serious.
Right.
I think the Knicks, first of all, when you have Mike Brown, you can't BS with Mike Brown. There's no BSing with Mike Brown. You got to defend. You have to defend.
He's also an interesting choice to succeed Thibodeau because Thibs, to me, Thibs is the kind of guy, if you're going to use him as a head coach, you bring into the organization to get you to a certain level.
Do you know what tree Mike Brown's from?
What tree? When he took over head coach of Cleveland, I'm trying to think of, I can't think of it.
I believe he was an assistant coach in Golden State during their run. You fellas could correct me on that, but I believe he was there during one of their championship years or years that they got to the finals.
But Brown is like, Thibs gets you to a certain level. And Mike...
I thought Thibs was great, though.
He did, but like at a certain point, the team is playing with such intensity all year. Guys are accruing a lot of minutes, et cetera, and it's usually he bumps up against the second round of the playoffs. And it's interesting to me.
One year, guys went down.
That's true, and they would have beaten the pace. They would have beaten the pace. But even you go down if you're logging all these minutes all year, you're more likely to go down.
Well, you can't have it both ways.
Why not?
You can't say, don't play guys. You mad at guys for having load management, but then you saying don't play guys.
No,
not
not load management, but I mean, Thibs goes to short rotations probably earlier in the season than most. He really, because he is, what I like about Thibs is
he's always had that
he
issue.
Gets you competitive right away. He cares about winning this game, and that gets your franchise to a certain level. of competitiveness and professionalism and all that stuff. But because he is focusing on winning every single game throughout the regular season, playing both sides of the ball, the whole thing, there's a certain limit at the playoffs. I bring all this up to say Mike Brown was not the first guy I had in mind for the Knicks, but he seems to be the right guy for the job for them to take the next step.
Well, he was the familiar pick. He was a safe pick. He was a tenured pick also, because when you think about it, he went to the finals. He been to the, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many times Mike Brown's been to the finals as a coach in general at this point.
Yeah, he definitely was there for the Golden State run. This is what Rich Paul is making reference to. That's why he said as a coach overall.
We know he went as a head coach in 07. He went as an assistant in Golden State. I think more than once, right? So when you really put everything on the board, I mean, who's actually more suited? But let me ask you this question. This leads to something. Do you think Thibs was, sometimes guys become head coaches because they just become head coaches, but do you think they have more value as assistant head coaches?
I would say Thibs is definitely a head coach because everywhere he's gone, he's brought success there. And then once he's left, things haven't been the same. I believe this season is the very first time, depending on how it ends, that the Knicks are more than likely to experience success after a Tom Thibodeau departure. The Minnesota Timberwolves missed the playoff the next 2 seasons, and the Chicago Bulls, once he left, they've never been the same, even today. So Thibs definitely deserves his credit. The only thing is that the media, they're always trying to troll the Knicks no matter what they do. They were dropping headlines on Thibs saying that he was the least favorable coach that most players wanted to play for. And then as soon as we plateaued in the playoffs and we let him go, all of a sudden was like, why did the Knicks let go of Thibs? You can't win with these parasites. It's the same fucking trap that they laid out with winning the Emirates Cup. Oh, they can't celebrate too hard, but why didn't they hang up the banner? It is what it is. They truly hate who they really love.
There, by the way, I brought up Josh McDaniels earlier. When you look at the Patriots, when they went bananas offensively, it was Josh McDaniels as the OC. Then he gets a head coaching job. Now, usually this happens with defensive coordinators, right? And Keyshawn Johnson always used to say when we were doing radio, I want a defensive coordinator with dandruff on the shoulders, like an older guy, because he doesn't have ambition to be a head coach. He's just doing his job.
Yeah.
And Josh McDaniels is like that. Tried as a head coach, didn't exactly work out. Now he's back with the Pats as the OC, and it looks right again, right? And if the Pats wind up winning a Super Bowl with Drake May and Vrabel, it's McDaniels who will straddle the Belichick, Brady, Vrabel, May eras, right? Like, it's interesting to me. There's like an example of an offensive head coach, Tex Winter with Phil Jackson in Chicago, in LA. It's the same thing. It works, right? I believe that Thibodeau as a head coach
Clemens was
to me,
also a big piece of that coaching staff too.
Thibodeau to me is a coach, as I said. If you want to get your organization competitive again, bring Thibs in as a head coach. If you want to win a championship, he's basically your D coordinator. He's basically your assistant coach that's coaching up the defense.
So do you think some coaches...
He'd be a good fit with D'Antoni.
That sounds good on paper, but I don't think it would end up working out regardless. Because Steve Nash, when he was with the Brooklyn Nets, he had Ume Udoka and Mike D'Antoni as assistant coaches. And that shit still didn't work. Once again, Max Kellerman loves playing into these fantasy sports analogies.
Yes.
If D'Antoni's the head coach.
But let me ask you a question. Do you think that some coaches, because it's so confusing because you want to be, like, you coach to become a head coach, but there's almost this world where it's like, nah, man, I'm going to overpay you.
Definitely.
Because sometimes organizations is like, oh, we can't pay him that he's not a head coach. Well, if it impacts winning, then pay him to stay.
But I got to tell you, I think the key to that game, and I want to say it was Stan Van Gundy who brought it up on the broadcast, was Mike Brown's handling of the game late. When he brought Kolek in at the end of that game to have another ball handler, decision maker on the floor, to me, that's what iced that game for the Knicks.
I think Mike Brown has saw enough basketball.
For sure.
I think really good coaches could not be afraid to throw a guy. But Kolek has showed he's an NBA player capable of playing in those minutes.
But he's not one of your 5 best players. A lot of coaches want their 5
if you
best
watch
on the
him
floor.
play in college, first of all, he's a competitor. He's going to make winning plays. He shoots it well, right? And he's just steady. And sometimes you need those steady guys, especially in those moments. And a coach like Mike Brown, he's going to trust a steady guy over anything because he hates I'm telling you right now, he hates turning the ball over, and he wants to make sure you're going to compete. 2 things with Mike Brown, because he's old school, right? When I first met Mike Brown, I'll never forget, he got the job in Cleveland, and we went out to dinner. And back then, coaches used to have to wear their suits. And Mike Brown, I used to get on him all the time because I said, Mike, you're gonna fracture your big toe because you stumping in them Stacey Adams. You know, back then the coaches used to go. It was a store in Atlanta that when they go to Atlanta, I'm telling you, they used to buy so many of these dress shoes. They used to buy.
Hey, not only Rich Paul is giving Mike Brown praise, but he's also showing how, personal their connection is. So don't be shocked after LeBron makes his Laker exit if Clutch Sports finds a way to slither into the Knicks situation.
And I was making this joke about Mike Brown. Now he put the Chucks on. Now they saved him.
I see that, yeah.
He put or he wears Vans or whatever, shoe that he wears. But I know Mike Brown, and I know the type of basketball he wants to play, so I'm not necessarily surprised by that. When I look at the league, right, I watched the Knicks and the Sixers, which was a great game, and I think that's becoming a thing. The Knicks, Sixers is becoming a thing. They probably see each other every year in the playoffs. You got
Edgecombe, Maxey,
they
got guys in the backcourt.
You got the Brunson, and Tyrese was, and this is not being Mr. Bias, was special.
Yeah, agreed.
Special.
Yeah.
And I also thought Embiid played better.
Yeah,
he played with a better
Embiid's
energy.
back, yeah.
Now, the Knicks are the Knicks. They're going to be hard fought. It's going to be tough to beat a Mike Brown team. And I know they lost a few games, but they're still really good. And Jalen Brunson's, if the game is close, he can bring you home. You know what Brunson's going to give you. OG actually shot the ball. He had 5 threes last night, which, he's capable of making threes.
OG shooting the ball very well this whole year.
But the play of Jordan Clarkson, Mitchell Robinson,
off the bench, and
Tyler Kolek.
Yep.
And it was one more, but they also was missing McBride.
Yeah.
Landry Shamet wasn't dressed. So they was missing a lot of their shooting, and they still won the game. So the Knicks, look, like I said, I think the Knicks are, and we could talk about this later, but I do think the Knicks, just watching them, they're surface level trade away from really being able to cement themselves. I do think that they are surface level trade away from really positioning themselves. But in things like this shouldn't be a time where you sit back and be complacent. You should actually get aggressive.
Can I say something? Here's the thing that I think has changed with the Knicks, because, 2 years ago, they're in the playoffs against the Pacers, and the Knicks were clearly better than the Pacers and only lost that series because they were hurt. They had guys who couldn't play. The following year, though, the Pacers were clearly better than last year. The Pacers were clearly better than the Knicks. They're just better because the Pacers had evolved and gotten better as a group. It was clicking right, and the Knicks hadn't quite taken that step. You know what's changed to me about the Knicks over the last couple weeks? When you think about Karl Anthony Towns coming out of college, he's the number 1 overall pick, not just because, oh my God, he can shoot it, he can actually play
7 feet tall,
7 feet tall,
Yeah.
do all that, but because in the modern NBA, you're big, it needs to be able to defend out in space. And he's built like and has the ability to be that guy. So part of it with him was the projection of the kind of player he could be in the NBA. And what it turned out to be with Karl Anthony Towns for a lot of his career is the offense is what we thought it would be. The defense. Didn't follow. That's the difference between him and an MVP caliber player in the last, let's say, month, is strides in that area. And I think that changes the entire Knicks team.
It definitely does. And if Karl Anthony Towns could shoot anywhere from 8 to 11 free throws a game and just increase the number of assists that he's getting, that would completely change the whole aura of this team.
That's the Mike Brown effect.
I think Mike Brown.
Hey, once again, Rich Paul praising Mike Brown. LeBron and Clutch Sports is trying to sneak their way in. They know the vibes.
Was when Jalen Brunson got the MVP last night, but the MVP to me was the coach. The MVP to me was Mike Brown last night.
Well, two things Mike Brown, I believe, added to the Knicks, and one Thibodeau always had too. The difference is, and I think Mike actually got this from his time with the Warriors, is he's added, both him and Thibs, you have to give a valiant effort.
Right.
They are effort guys, no question about it. But I think where Mike Brown makes a difference is now pace. And when you talk about the Pacers beating the Knicks, the Pacers beat the Knicks because of their pace.
And depth.
Facts. That game 6 in that fourth quarter, the Knicks were gassed, especially Jalen Brunson. The Pacers had Nembhard beating down on his ass ever since the game 1 tip-off. And to counteract that, this season we're seeing a lot more different guys bringing up the ball. Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, just take that load off of Brunson, because Rick Carlisle, I gotta say, he fucking was doing 3D chess moves to just get the Knicks to be in the position that they were in game 6, just being gassed, trying to keep up with the Pacers bench, just dropping 35 points a game. I mean, you could even look at game 5, even though the Knicks won that game, the Pacers bench still dropped almost 60 points. Shit is crazy.
The Pacers beat the Knicks because of their pace.
And depth.
Pace of play. Yeah, but really and they had guys that really,
But wait, let's stop right there. The difference between Mike Brown and Thibodeau to me is Mike Brown's more sophisticated. Mike Brown understands that, yes, we'd like to win today, but the way we're going to win is important because, as you said, a lot of the NBA regular season is getting ready for the playoffs if you're a good team. And Mike Brown understands we can't have 5 guys getting all the minutes and then have no bench to have McBride that and maybe Mitch that we can rely on.
But I can't say, I'll say Mike Brown, again, taking it away from Thibs, is just as sophisticated. You know why? Because he learned, because we don't know what Mike Brown would have done prior to, but knowing, like, if you're coaching after someone else is just there, and it's up to you to recognize what they were doing
Then you
wrong.
start at a certain...
So, right, you start at
like
a certain
Rick
point.
Carlisle and Larry Brown with the Pistons back in
Right,
the same
you start
thing.
at a certain
Rick
point.
Carlisle gets you all the way there, and then the guy puts you over the
I don't know
top.
if that's sophistication, but it's definitely an astute thing
I think
to
Mike Brown, I hear you. I think Mike Brown, I think this hits you. I think it hits Mike Brown. I think it hits a lot of people in LeBron James's orbit throughout his career, where they don't get enough credit for what they've done because the snap judgment, it's not that people are being lazy. It's that people are living their lives and they got to have a lot of information to take in and come to these kind of quick conclusions is, well, he's there because of LeBron James. Well, he got enough, people think of him this way because of LeBron James. I think Mike Brown suffers from that when in fact it's what's not recognized is the kind of coach he is. What he like as a Knicks, as a little kid who used to be a big Knicks fan.
And you still are, Max, but I get where you're going with this. But once again, peep the way that they're discussing Mike Brown and all the praise and just the way they're branding him within this podcast medium. Not only they're making a soft pitch, but they're also elevating Mike Brown's name. All the topics that they have discussed is very carefully crafted. Make no mistake about it.
In me watching that, it's like when you watch the Thibs team, you knew that they're not going to win a championship. They're going to burn out. They don't have a bench. He doesn't trust the bench. They're not going to be ready when they're called upon. And this team, completely different. Completely different. You brought up Clarkson, Mitch,
Kolek.
and Kolek.
Yeah.
That's Mike Brown. That's using what you got and not overworking your guys. And I think Knicks fans should be feeling good about the way they're going to be positioned in the playoffs.
What I saw yesterday, different than what I saw before, especially the previous Knicks teams, was he was able to get Brunson off the ball.
Yeah.
And not that he's getting them off of it, to get it back in different ways. That makes the defense kind of shift and move around a little bit.
Work a little harder.
Especially when you're putting a bigger guy on Brunson, because that's the only way. Because Brunson is very brolic.
Yep.
And he's crafty as well. And he really shoots the ball really well from 3. if you go under or catch and shoot.
And the catch and shoot portion is something that Mike Brown this season has unlocked fully with Brunson, because I haven't really seen him in that position since he was in Dallas with Luka. And as the season continues to progress, we're slowly seeing Jalen Brunson elevate his game into, I would say, the James Harden, Mike D'Antoni years when it comes to the proficiency of his shots.
If you go under or catch and shoot, and obviously he comes up in big moments. But that's what I see different. I see a guy like Brunson being able to get off the ball, go back and get it, get into his pick and roll actions, and then again, you got guys slipping, you got guys, they're advancing the ball, you're hitting the short corner, you're making the ball is moving a lot more than it did in the Thibs offense,
and not only the ball is moving a lot more, but also Brunson is killing guys in the paint. Every time he touches the paint, he is deadly. Looking like Patrick Ewing in there without the post up.
That's
better,
evolution.
The ball is moving. Adjustments are made.
But I still
think
if I'm the Knicks and I'm looking at our situation, I'm saying, okay, we're good. We're good. The East is a little depleted. It's a little.
Who do you want to bring in?
All over the place. I definitely think it's from a guard perspective. If you're dissecting, if you break it, what is your playoff rotation? Because you got to cut it to 8 or 9, right?
Yeah, I think we know what it is.
So if you're looking at that, I'm really looking at how do I improve the back four?
Well, so who drops out? So you have your 5 starters plus Mitch, Clarkson, McBride, Kolek. Who's dropping out of that?
Well, you forgot Shamet too.
Shamet, that's 5 guys off the bench. You're right.
I mean, you could play 10. You're not playing 12.
But you're not playing one of those 5. You're not playing if you're bringing in someone else.
See,
Hey, all of us Knicks fans, these are embarrassment of riches that it feels good. I'm not gonna lie. That's a lot of players to try to find minutes for.
Think in the playoffs, right? And this is why depth matters. And I always say this to teams. And this is what players have to understand about being role players. In the playoffs, it's about each series and the style of the fight in each series.
Right.
There may be a playoff series where Clarkson matters, right? And you have to lean on that. But there also may be a playoff series where you need Kolek, you need 2 ball handlers. So it's about having that depth.
When you say bring in a guard, are you talking about a guard who can also defend, a guard who can play make, a guard who can shoot?
I think
you're not going to get all those, or it's a star.
No, I think
so what are you looking at?
I think a little bit more size.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's a good idea.
And that can also play with Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
I like Josh Hart starting, but Josh Hart's the type of player, he's going to do whatever you ask him to do anyway. And
this is the issue with the Knicks structurally. Josh Hart needs to shoot it better from long range. If Josh Hart shot the 3, like he's had a couple seasons in his career where he's not doing it well enough. If he shot the 3 well enough, let's say at least 35% or above for the season, then they're okay. Then the starting 5 is the way you want it. The fact is, the reason you think that about Josh Hart, because he does everything else, is he doesn't shoot it well enough.
Yeah, well, he's never going to shoot it like a Desmond Bane would shoot it, but maybe I'm trying to think of a player that kind of turned themselves into a shooter like that.
And that's where I got to say right here, the Knicks structurally, they're going to have to make another Manuel Quickly type of decision. Like one of the fan favorites is going to have to go for a more complete player that checks all the boxes. He has the size, he could shoot, and he could defend multiple positions. For example, a perfect fit would be someone like Trey Murphy down in New Orleans. But in order to make that happen, there's going to have to be another type of Emmanuel Quickly situation where the fans are seeing a favorite leave the team. It could be Deuce McBride. It could even be Josh Hart. Decisions. And teams that normally elevate into that next level, they make these hard choices. The Boston Celtics when they got rid of Marcus Smart, the Toronto Raptors when they finally moved off of DeRozan, and an example of a team that stayed with a player too long that could have elevated, but it was too late, is the Philadelphia 76ers with Ben Simmons. So Leon Rose entering into yet another season where the team is expected to make a deep playoff run after losing in the Eastern Conference Finals the year before. If the squad does not reach the NBA Finals, it's going to be a lot of tough decisions to make. And who knows, Karl Anthony Towns will probably be on that list.
On a good team. A guard that
I mean, it's
that came in known for their defense.
Yeah.
Hustle, Josh Hart gets extra possessions.
Tony Allen ever have any seasons where he shot it a little? I mean, it happens when
Tony has shot it.
Yeah, he shot it
decently,
okay a couple.
But he was
I mentioned
so
Draymond
good
the other day, not a
defensively.
guard, but Draymond had a season where I think he shot 38 from three.
Well, if they
'cause
win
he
that
did
game
so much-
7, he wins the MVP of the
Yeah,
finals.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that I think when you have a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, if you're playing him at the 5, right, then you have enough spacing on the floor that Josh Hart should be getting really good looks. Like everyone on the floor. OG's shooting it well. Mikal Bridges shoots it well. Obviously Brunson. Josh Hart's he should be getting good looks enough for him to shoot it well.
But again,
he's not. When Josh Hart shoots it well, they look like they're beating teams.
Not
really
to
good
turn
teams.
him into somebody he's not going to be.
Yeah.
Just
Go get that guy?
Yeah. Well, just going. I'm just saying, I never like to be complacent. And sometimes I think teams, you ride this regular season with that, and then you get to a place and you need something. It's like, no.
Who, Rich? Who?
Well, I have to think about it more.
A lot of fair points brought up right here. Contending teams definitely do not want to be complacent. Look at the Golden State Warriors, even after losing the finals in 2016, going after Kevin Durant. So if there's no final appearance for the Knicks this season, we could expect some of our fan favorites to possibly be shipped out.
I heard something, it's been reported that the Knicks, that I wanted to ask you about, because Knicks fans have to feel good about this, I imagine, right? In one way, at least. So the Knicks players are taking the bonus money, some of the bonus money that they got from winning the NBA Cup, $500,000 apiece.
A little bit over.
Yeah, a little over. Yeah.
533 to be exact.
Yeah, 33 G's. Let's not pretend that's nothing.
533,096.
That's right.
I think that was the exact number.
You can get all your broke friends Christmas gifts with that money. Now,
you have to pay taxes.
Even your rich friends. Now, they're taking some of that and they're giving bonuses to staff on the Knicks that don't get bonuses. So I had two thoughts about that. I want to know, because you've seen this from every angle. Yeah. On the one hand, I'm thinking, James Dolan, whatever bad things I've said about him, he's known as being a generous, NBA franchise owner.
Facts. And perhaps one of the most generous owners in the NBA. He's even helped a few of our favorite legends get out of debt. So despite the media narratives, James Dolan does take care of his own.
Right? I never heard people say, oh, Dolan played us cheap that way. And yet, players have to pick up the slack for the fact that there's staff that the players feel should be compensated who aren't being compensated a certain way, and they're kind of covering for ownership there.
No, they're not.
What?
That is not true.
Max is definitely fucking reaching right here. I don't know if his affiliations with the Daily News, just them having beef with James Dolan, but he has always gone at that man's neck. I mean, how many companies out there are really giving out bonuses to any employee regardless of level?
Why don't those people get bonuses?
That is false. You can't. First of all, Mr. Dolan's generous. Just
Mr.
leave it at
Dolan.
that.
Oh, you doing business with this dude?
No.
Hey, Rich Paul coming to James Dolan's defense. I'm telling you, these guys are slowly slithering their way as they see the Knicks are very close to not only making an NBA Finals appearance, but possibly winning it all. And they do understand that that New York energy is going to help LeBron James's brand. Just winning one in New York is like going back to back. Shit, they might even put LeBron James above Jordan if that happens.
I'm just saying, Jim Dolan is generous.
Yes.
Leave it at that.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with ownership. Because here's the thing. There's people that work amongst the team. The players, to me, this is more of an admiration from the players to say, hey, these people are here every day with us. We see these people and we won. It also says a lot about the people as well, because when you see somebody every single day, they see these people more than they see their family.
But yeah, it's amazing how that story didn't go as viral, opposed to just trolling the franchise on whether they're going to hang up a banner or not. Once again, my fellow Knicks fans, you have no allies in the media.
And so the players are deciding to do this because sometimes, whether you're a staff member, you may not have in your contract a certain playoff share, a certain number of tickets you get, bonus, or different things like that. So that's on one.
If I'm Dolan and I hear that the players are paying bonuses to the staff, what I'm doing is that's great. They want to do that. I'm matching all the
but how do
bonuses
you
to
know
the staff.
he didn't?
That's true. I don't know
Yes,
he
he
didn't,
did-
but I have not read that he did.
But this is the problem with media. You don't always have to read it. Here's the thing. There's people that do
Call
a lot
Pablo
of
Torre. Find out about this one.
there's people that do a lot of nice things for other people and you never know about it.
That's true.
So
No, and by
what
the way,
I'm
I
saying
started
is-
this by saying he's known as a generous dude.
Yeah, but then you
I'm
read-
just
but-
saying,
but-
like, I noticed that if the way
No,
the
let the
report,
players-
Rich, the reporting is that the players are giving a part of their bonus to staff that is not getting bonuses.
Yes, but everybody's contract doesn't come with a bonus.
And I'm saying maybe they
Have
should
you ever
take care of their
owned a
people.
company before?
not like the Knicks, no.
Okay.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, when you own a company, there's contractual agreements. There's language within
understand.
those agreements. And the admiration is the players play for what team?
The Knicks.
And the players decided to do what?
Pay staff that don't get bonuses part of their own bonuses because ownership isn't giving
That
them
is
one.
not true. See, that is not true. It has zero to do with ownership. You're taking it way
What are you
across
saying?
the
Has to do with
bridge.
the GM? What are you talking about?
No. You're taking it across the bridge.
Yes.
The players decide to do a very generous thing during the Christmas holiday time for people that they felt deserve it, right? It's still a reflection of the Knicks organization, regardless how you look
It
at
is a reflection of the team that the front office has put together.
Because here's the other thing. What you don't hear about is, I know for certain, there's been times that people probably did deserve this and it didn't happen. And
Okay,
ownership,
so that's
and
what-
ownership did give
Okay, but I'm
bonuses
not
out.
talking about those times. I'm talking about this time
Yeah,
where it
but you
appears
can't-
that
but you can't-
that the players are picking up the slack for.
That's not true. I disagree.
Well, we
with
don't
that.
know if that's true or not.
Yeah,
we
but
don't know if that's true or
But I
not.
still disagree with that because you can't put everything on ownership all the time in that way.
Is this Mr. Bias coming out just in
No,
the
it's
sense?
not Mr. Bias.
Do you
I
have to
think-
put just because you have to do business with all these teams?
I have one player, but I'm just being honest.
Hey, Rich Paul, that one client, is he about to do business with the Knicks? And when it comes to Max Kellerman, he definitely is picking and choosing of who he applies this quote unquote morality of just paying out bonuses. Where's this same energy for Alex Rodriguez and his business partner laying off all those employees out in Minnesota?
This front office has put together a team like the Nova Knicks and everything, and you have to do the DiVincenzo and Julius Randle deal for Cat. I get that. And that broke up the Nova Knicks a little, but it's still the kind of nucleus is there. There's a certain, and we see this in the NFL when, teams started drafting the quarterback's receiver from college because you have already that built-in relationship and chemistry. You saw it in Cincinnati. You've seen it in a lot of places. But the Knicks kind of took that philosophy a bit, it looks like, and it's worked in terms of the cohesiveness of the team. There's good chemistry and team cohesion. And as a fan who watches that, I think, oh, this bodes well for the Knicks. This is not in baseball, they used to have an expression like 24 different cabs after the game. No one was having dinner together. They all, on that kind of team. But this Knicks team is like the opposite of that, it seems to me. And when I see something like the fact that they're giving part of their bonus from winning the cup to staff, that is like the kind of, my first thing is what we already discussed. And my next thing is, that looks like a team that's together because the stars have to come together, the rich ones, and be like, the highest paid dudes and be Cat and Brunson and OG and be like, you know what we should do? So that idea has to come from somewhere and they have to agree to it and kind of all do it together. Is that a good sign for this team?
Yeah, it's always a good sign when you have continuity and things of that nature. That don't necessarily mean you're gonna win a championship. But yeah, it to me, when that type of stuff happens, the way I look at it is, because what we don't know is, yeah, it may have came from the top, a top player. Everybody might not agree to it, but you look like you can't be a class clown in that situation when everyone's doing right. So that's one thing. But to answer your question, the answer is yes. And I think what that equates to is when we're on the basketball floor
Yeah.
and I have a swing, do I hesitate or do I just swing that ball?
Right.
That matters. And so when you enjoy playing with each
What
other.
is the hesitation about? Like, I want to take the shot?
Yeah, the hesitation is equivalent to if you hesitated in terms of giving your share for the bonus, then that means you're going to hesitate on the swing.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
so you're saying there is a correlation between that and cohesion and all that.
Yeah, of course. But there's also teams that have won and players didn't necessarily like each other. But
Right,
the
there's more
talent
than
was
one
just
way
so-
to do it. Right.
Yeah,
sure.
But I'd rather be cohesive and have continuity and collaborate to then bring forth winning, the possibility of winning a championship versus the other side of it.
That bonding dynamic is definitely underrated, especially when these guys want to go for an NBA championship. Honesty is a must. When guys are fucking up, somebody got to be able to call it out. So we're seeing a lot of positive signs when it comes to unity. Another example of it is the defensive player of the game. The way the guys are taking the pictures with the Thibs. It's brought more of an organic unity that guys can actually just want to participate in. You know how you work at one of these companies where it's a fake team atmosphere and everyone can tell they're just pretending? That's where events like taking photos for the defensive player of the game, it cultivates that organic unity that you need. Mikal Bridges, he's able to call guys out when they miss their defensive assignments. Shout out to my guy Rick, he definitely pointed that out to me. And with that newfound power, just take a look at where Mikal Bridges is standing when they take those defensive player of the game photos. He's front and center alongside that player that won that award. Again, you got to mix a little bit of the inorganic with the organic.
The reason that I'm bringing all this up, Rich, is as a New York sports fan, and it's not just a New York sports fan. I don't root for the Jets. I don't root for the Mets. You know, I'm a Yankees, Giants, and growing up, I was a Knicks fan.
And you still are, Max. You still are a Knicks fan. You just like pocket watching them, but you one of these low-key Knicks fans. You act like you don't know what the fuck is going on with the team, but yet you know the whole roster top down, and you come across as a scorned but yet still curious ex.
I don't root for the Jets. I don't root for the Mets. You know, I'm a Yankees, Giants, and growing up, I was a Knicks fan. As a New York sports fan, I look at...
That's an embarrassment of riches.
Another embarrassment of riches?
Yeah, because you have 6 teams to choose from.
That's right. But I go for the heritage
Unlike
team.
me.
Yeah. All your teams are the heritage team in Cleveland. In New York, you have the heritage team, and then a lot of times the clown franchise. And I like the heritage team. But usually it's Yankees heritage, Mets clowns.
I understand
Giants
that,
heritage, although they've been clowns recently. Jets clowns.
What do you mean the Mets?
The Jets are a clown franchise.
So fast forward, now we're going to hear the story of Cam Reddish, as he was signed to Clutch Sports around 2021 when he joined the Knicks, until unfortunately he was not able to make an NBA team. And today, only at the age of 26, he finds himself playing overseas. It's crazy how he ended up being the missing piece that the Knicks needed in order to obtain Josh Hart. The toxic media coverage around the Knicks at the time kind of trolled the team as if they gave away a future Charlotte Hornets first round pick in order to get Cam just to trade him away for Josh Hart. Fast forward today, not only it ended up working out, but Cam Reddish is unfortunately out the league.
That's the upside. The guys who develop, you know, a lower draft pick, he's not a starter. Then there's the flip of that. And this comes off a news story that Cam Reddish, who signed with a Lithuanian team, didn't stick with a Lithuanian team. Now, I don't know if that means he left because he wanted to leave or, I mean, I can't imagine he's not good enough to stick in Lithuania.
Max, is it really that he's not good enough to stay there, or does he lack the passion for the game when the game is not giving him the expected tangible returns that he's used to? Not every NBA player falls in love with the game for the same reasons. For some players, the game has always provided something before the love of it even showed up. Playing out there in Lithuania is not going to be as glamorous. So what happens when that player didn't necessarily have the passion for the game to begin with?
But he's an example of a guy who was a stud in the draft, right? And
before the draft, yes.
It didn't work out. Like, why is it that some guys work out and a guy like Cam Reddish, who passes the eyeball test, doesn't?
This is a tough one for me because I recruited Cam Reddish. I sat on his parents' couch, great family. He was always somebody that was just uber talented. I think sometimes, man, these young guys, they just get burnt out. It's a mental fatigue.
So Cam is not an example of, like, you also represented Ben Simmons, who for a minute looked like I thought, at one point, I think I came out on First Take back then. It was like, he's the best show in sports, right? Like, he's 6'10" with a handle and like great passer, and he couldn't shoot at all, but that looked like the only thing that was missing from him. And all of a sudden, it's like he fell off a cliff. So you're not, and it was like.
Those are two different scenarios because the difference is everything that Ben wanted to happen for Ben happened for Ben. He was the #1 pick in the draft.
Check that.
He was the rookie of the year.
Check.
He was a perennial all-star.
Check.
He was all NBA.
Check. And
he got the max contract.
He got the second contract.
He got the max contract. In Cam's case, one.
So he got full, you're saying, by the time he got the second deal?
Yeah, well, you got to think. There's two ways to go about this. Either you love what the game brings you or you love the game. And when you play this game for so long as a kid, and most kids don't say, "Oh, I want to get to the NBA and I want to be great in the NBA for 15 years." No, they dream of making it to the NBA. And so you're going up that mountain. Some guys get up that mountain and say,
well, I think it depends. I think it depends. You're talking about what is your mountain, right?
Yes, but here's what I'm saying. I want to finish my point. The point I'm trying to make is some guys get there and be like, okay, good. I got up here. Now I'm going to go back down. Some guys get there and like, okay, now I want to go higher. And that's the difference. Like in Cam's case, I truly believe this. And I think Cam, again, I watched this kid score 50 of the easiest points. I mean, me and Mav was together, and Mav was like, damn, that looked easy.
I was sure he was going to be a great NBA scorer.
And I was
sure
like,
he was going to be.
It did. 6'9", fluid. But, you know, when he got to college, he got there, and he was there with RJ, and he was there with Zion.
Yep.
So he was kind of like the third guy that could do something mentally to you. Just mentally, right? Confidence. Our game is 90% mental. When you get to the NBA, everyone's uber talented.
So wait, you're saying that Cam, it's not an issue of he didn't love the game?
I don't know. No, I don't think it's an issue of that. I don't know what the issue is. I'm just giving you what I suspect, being in it and being around all of these kids since they've been young. I'm just giving you the journey. That part happens. Then you go to the draft, right? And you know, all this whole time, this is why I don't really love mock drafts. You're looking and you're supposed to be a top 5 pick. Well, you go 10. And not only do you go 10, you go 10 to a team that just took a player that is from your city or from your area that you were supposed to be ranked better than the whole time.
Yep. The Hawks drafted DeAndre Hunter. And not only that, I believe he started over Cam.
In front of you at 4, DeAndre Hunter went 4. So now you got 2 guys that play the same position on the same team.
And that Hawks team that Cam got drafted to was already crowded at that forward position. They had John Collins. They had, I believe, Bogdan. They had a lot of guys. Even Gallinari was on that team, but that forward position was very crowded.
And then you get traded.
Wow. He got traded to a team where the coach and Thibs did not want to play him. That's really where it looked like, from the outside looking in, that Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose had a slight difference in viewpoint on who to give minutes to.
You got 2 guys that play the same position on the same team, and then you get traded.
Hey, that could have really fucked with him mentally, because when he got traded and Josh Hart came to the Knicks, not only Hart got major burn, but he had major impact on that team. So who knows? It could have fucked with Cam mentally.
You're saying it's circumstance.
It's circumstance,
Rich,
yes.
How much of it is circumstance and how much of it is, this happens to me evaluating college quarterbacks all the time. I'm horrible at it because I look at him in college, I'm like, that he's going to be, and it doesn't turn out that way. Sometimes it's that what you can do at a certain level of competition, like you can hit AAA pitching, but in the majors, you just can't do it the same way. I suspect that there's something about Cam Reddish's game that just didn't translate on the same level that it looked like it was going to translate when he was in college.
I would say it's the speed. Every time he drove in the lane, it looked like he was shocked that certain guys were already there to contest him. He just wasn't used to that, I guess, on the amateur circuit. In retrospect, the speed probably caught up with him since his college days, but it was slower and it fully caught up by the time he got into the league.
You know, because if you're saying it's not an issue of the love of the game, then I think
it's the other thing.
Then you would rise.
Now, right there, you heard Rich Paul confirm. I think it was the other thing, aka it's the speed.
I suspect that there's something about Cam Reddish's game that just didn't translate on the same level that it looked like it was going to translate when he was in college. You know, because if you're saying it's not an issue of the love of the game, then I think
it's the other thing.
Then you would rise above the circumstance.
Yes, but sometimes some guys need, along with the opportunity, a little TLC.
Mm-hmm.
They need a little TLC. And the problem with the NBA is, or any league for that matter, but especially in the NBA, there's a draft every year. The higher you go in the draft, the higher the expectation, and right away, right? Now, again.
And these kids are coming with very little college or no college now.
If I'm a lottery pick, two things can happen when you're a lottery pick. You either lottery pick and your team, you're able, if you go to a bad team, let's just say, call it when I say bad team, a team that's not vying for contending in any way. You're there. The GM that drafted you, they're there too, right? So they picked you. And they're going to want to see you develop. They're going to want to invest in you.
Now, that's another thing about Cam Reddish. That GM that drafted him from the Hawks, he was actually one of the assistant GMs on that Golden State team from 2016. So he was trying to imitate that formula when he went to Atlanta. They don't call it a copycat league for no reason. Once he found out that formula was not going to work, just chasing that Stephen Curry formula with Trae Young, he abandoned the ship real quick.
Some guys' talent and production outlasts the GM. The GM could change. That player's still
but
there.
But if the GM goes and you're stuck there.
Right.
And
or if you get traded to another team, well, that GM didn't draft you. They're taking you back in the trade. They're taking they're taking a flyer on you.
Hey, great insight right there from Rich Paul. The Knicks were definitely taking a flyer on Cam Reddish. But it is what it is. This Cold War podcast launched by Clutch Sports to combat a lot of the arrows coming in from the LA media has provided a lot of fucking gems with some of the sentiments that camp is feeling at the moment, because their next move could possibly pay huge dividends for another team. Surprisingly, a lot of praises coming from Rich Paul when it comes to the CAA Knicks. Make no mistake about it, every single topic discussed on this show is carefully crafted. But we'll see. You guys definitely hit up the link in the description below. Check out the Knicks True Story playlist as well as the Hardwood Nuances. It's a little bit of the game film mixed with the storytelling. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.